Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Jonny Sue is spinning on the ones and twos. Fam, I think you got to see what the ones and twos actually are. DJ Flowers was one of the first to use them. And they're like these turntables that really spin hard.
I've seen old school 80s.
Technique 1200s, the
90s.
ones and twos. All right. I mean, you had to throw the old school in there.
But it is old school.
It's not that old. Nah, gotcha. Anyways, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining on the YouTube today and in the Rokfin and on Facebook or wherever you're at. We want to thank you so much for the Patreons out there that always help us out. The extra PayPals, they do go a long way, especially in these times where we don't know what's what. But really important, ladies and gentlemen, on YouTube, if you haven't signed up for the free Rokfin, it is free to sign up. Please go over and do so. And endorse the Convo Couch if you got a few extra bucks. If you do endorse us for $9.99 a month, you get every single buddy's content, premium content free across
Everybody's
the board.
there.
Advertisement free. And it's really important right now because, I just saw the Gray Zone do a video. They just dropped it about Joe Biden, and they don't believe in freedom of the press. They don't believe in free speech.
No,
and, I'm wondering what's going to happen to some of the people who put some of those stories out there, like Katie Halper, who put the Tara Reid story out there, if there's going to be blowback and they're going to get a little revenge and start silencing
all these
people.
Election videos that we're doing. Forget about those as well.
Yeah.
And also just the people, Joe Biden, and we're gonna be. I have a video released on one of them, but we're gonna have more to say about all of Joe Biden's picks and his transition team.
Yeah.
They're all CIA, NSA, corporate lobbyists. The ties are very nefarious and disgusting, and that's gonna be the next few things that we're talking about, apart from the elections, because these people are already saying that they want to censor speech. The people Joe Biden is putting in charge are extremely nefarious, and maybe even more nefarious than the people Donald Trump had in charge, or equally as just. And it seems that Donald Trump is now trying to get rid of a lot of these people and going out with a bang, so to speak.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that on Wednesday. It's funny. I'm going to get on that. The whole Esper getting fired. Replaced by McRoberts, supposedly going to try to pull the plug that at least in the last 64 days, if he can get everybody out of Syria and Afghanistan. Now, once again, fam, it's kind of funny because, like you say, all right, we're going to get everybody out of Syria and Afghanistan, yet he allows the Yemeni situation to happen because of his friends.
Yep.
And Syria was also, I thought, the reason why he can never pull the plug was a lot to do with Israel. But if he can get all the troops out of Syria and Afghanistan, so be it. We know that if Joe Biden stays in, there'll be another fake chemical attack or something will happen.
Sanctions will continue.
Will continue. Afghanistan will still continue if he gets his way. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Better late than never, but we'll see what can happen. But today, I think we still need to talk about what's going on with these elections, because there's been some bombshells that you won't see in the mainstream media. They're still going along like the election's over, like nothing happened here.
Nothing to see here, folks. Move along.
Move along, right? So we want to get started. Listen, guys, we have 2 trolls in early because we have 2 thumbs down. We have 29 up. Let's get some more ups. We got 91 watching. Share, because a lot of times we are getting hidden.
Yeah, people
from
don't
the
get the
bell
notifications,
and all that stuff.
all those things.
Yes. And 11 people on Rokfin early, fam. 12. It's climbing. Guys, get over to the Rokfin. Rokfin. We also say you can join in the fun as far as the monetary gains. Mm-hmm. You can buy some Ethereum and transfer it to Ray, and that is the token that we receive for putting up content on this platform. So it helps us get involved. It's a lot of fun. And if the United States economy crumbles, fam, then you have a little cryptocurrency to
which
lean
it
back
is likely
on.
To crumble. January, February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pull up the Facebook real quick, guys. One last share and like. I'm kind of just stalling for time till we get this thing rolling.
And you guys, I just wanted to mention that, we're still one of the only sources on the left covering these elections, whereas everybody's swallowing this narrative that it's just, Republicans cheating every single time. Of course Republicans cheat. We know they cheat. Their tactics are voter suppression, etc. None of this is new. The fact, however, is that both parties also cheat, and both parties have rigged elections continuously. And once you realize that your vote, you didn't really vote to elect Joe Biden. The empire has chosen Joe Biden. And when you realize that, there comes this immense cognitive dissonance in a lot of people, where a lot of people lash out at you and they're like, how dare you say that? No, democracy. It's like, what democracy are you fighting for? Democracy of putting a bunch of spooks in government? Democracy of censoring people who think differently than you? I do not like the right-wing ideology in any way, shape, or form. But if I'm going to combat that ideology, I want to be able to do it in a public forum. I want to be able to show people how wrong somebody is. You don't get there by literally censoring people. And that's a whole other thing that we're going to see encroaching on our whole lives now. And that's part of it. And it's also another thing that's part of it is this whole dilemma that I'm going to be talking about, Pasta, that somehow we voted fascism out. You can't vote fascism out when you don't have election integrity in this country, number one. Number two, fascism is not something you can simply vote out. It is embedded in the very fabrics of our society and the very foundations of this country. And we're going to be talking more about that throughout the show.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of talks with people like about solutions and what do we do moving forward, and how do we get out of this? And I'm going to also still talk about these elections when it comes to the right cheating, and we're going to go over this too as well at the end of the first section. The ways they traditionally cheated, but the power they needed. Political powers mean a lot. You need to fix election. You need friends in all different types of places to put all your to pull off your tricks. And the talk that's been going on with the purging of the voter rolls, which is kind of like a little bit of a messed up conversation. We'll talk a little bit.
It happens.
Yeah,
but it happens to progressives too.
Well.
Maria Estrada is one that has been talking about the purging of the voter rolls here in LA, and it literally purged a lot of people in her district, and that was the Democrats doing that too.
And
so
we witnessed it too.
Exactly. So don't say that it's just the right doing it.
Yeah. And it's in a very messy area because when you talk about the voter rolls, I mean, there's a lot of people that are on those voter rolls that shouldn't be on those voter rolls. We have to come up with a system. And that's why yesterday I talked to a gentleman by the name of David Weber, fam. Mm-hmm. David Weber is a computer scientist, a software programmer, but more importantly, David Weber is implemented what he calls open standards, which are the same thing as open source systems overseas. Mm-hmm. He even for 3 cycles in Virginia implemented a mail-in open source system that is sound, because what we did, if you understand elections, we said this from the get-go, and we've been saying this several months ago, how the Democrats tipped themselves off that they were going to cheat through the mail-in, one of the techniques, and obviously we always knew about the flipping of the software. Just the sheer fact, fam, that the software is proprietary, I don't know why that hasn't woken up anybody in 4 years, especially after primary after primary of Bernie Sanders getting cheated, when we can see this with the naked eye going, that's wrong. Those votes right there, something is going on. We did some math, we showed it. Now there's mathematicians doing this stuff and showing us. But the fact, fam, that the software itself is proprietary and people just can't grasp around your head like, this is no good. We don't know who was cheated and when it's cheated, and we can't even look at the software. People have used terminology to try to get your mind in there, progressives, like black box voting. Understand what that means. We can't see. No transparency. And there's going to be some good news today, fam, because it looks like the right is learning the way they're classifying stuff. In fact, you're going to see later on, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but you're going to be wow, way to learn on how we classify things. Our language means something, right? We talk about the words voter fraud and election fraud. Well, we're going to get to that later on. But back to this whole system when it comes to the software, we've been talking, and David Weber has worked with open standard systems before. Mm-hmm. He understands the game. And I really wanted to talk to him because I didn't want to just be calling out the problems that we've been talking about for years that are now coming to the forefront. Like the shit has finally risen to the top, Bobbles. But what are the solutions? Because there's been solutions that have been talked about, fam, and been pushed aside. Yep. So I got David Weber on the phone for a little conversation. And we'll go into it. And the first part, this is David Weber. And you guys, it's the video's gotten a little traction. It's really cool. It's how to flip an election with David Weber. Go and check it out. We had a little Zoom conversation, and I kind of clipped it up and put it up. So David Weber, he starts talking about the open source mail-in system in Virginia that he worked in. And this is a big solution moving forward. We have to understand that, okay, after we come out of this, what do we do moving forward? There are already solutions on the table. We talk about the big sleep. All those people went to sleep. Well, in the background, you didn't see the election integrity activists. We're like, we ain't sleeping for nothing. We know what you did. We know what the Democratic Party did to Bernie, and you're going to do it again, and we're going to catch you when you did it. So let's get into this video. It presents solutions, fam, and I'm interested to see what you guys think about this, because you guys know about this subject. Let's watch.
Yes. Well, people can go and find the design that was done for DoD FVAP for these mail-in ballots. And there was a whole workflow around ensuring that the person requesting, and you actually have to go in and request to get the ballot.
Yes.
And then they verify your information, and then they notify you that here's the link to the download, and you can go in and download the ballot, print it off, fill it out, mail it back.
Got it.
So now you've got multiple levels of trust and verification going on there, as you can see immediately, right?
Yeah. This is the system you worked with in Virginia, or no? Or kind of
Yes.
like it? Yes. Okay.
Yes. No,
Seems logical.
This was a overall design that FVAP and DoD did to justify, because this was the first time it was being done.
Yeah.
Ballots, people being able to download them, print them off, and mail them in, making sure they get the correct ballot.
Yes, but they had to go in person and request it, right?
The ballot's different.
Yeah. But you're saying in your situation, they had to go in and request it in person to get that ballot. So we know that they had to once in person verify that ballot. Where did they go and Where did they go in and fill that out to get that?
It was online, and FVAP have a form for that, which is used by the military and these overseas voters.
Got it.
And you verify all your information, and you mail that in. And of course, we were doing that digitally, because the whole premise here is, for the military, these are people who are putting their lives on the line daily.
Yeah.
And they deserve to get their vote cast and counted more than anybody else.
Yeah. Okay, so fam, what he was is doing a system, and we're working with the veterans overseas, and they wanted to implement a program that was safe and secure, where, once again, not too many of these ballots go out, they don't get to the wrong hands. And when he said you got to go in, I thought he was like, you have to go in person. He was like, no, you have to go into the system, and it creates a link where you can verify all your information, and then you print out your ballot. And your QR code is specific to the ballot you print out, so you can't print out more. And it's just one of those ways. I was like, well, how could we have done this? And
but how is that? Is that like, can people track their ballot? Can they see
all that stuff? Yeah, and go to the interview, guys, and watch a little bit more, because he goes into detail. But yes, you can track your ballot. It's a unique QR code for each ballot, so therefore you can't make multiple ballots, whatnot, and it won't be out of control where you just send out all these ballots. Because not the ballots in California. We talk about the ballots.
Because we had a QR code in those too.
But the QR code was, and I asked several times, it's just specific to the district you're in where you're voting. So in other words, it just tells you that it's supposed to be counted in that district. That's what that QR code is. It's not a specific one to the individual.
I see.
And now I'm trying to find out the ballots from Michigan and Wisconsin. From what I understand, some of those ballots in some of the areas, some do, but a lot of them don't have QR codes in it. It's just a regular kind of ballot with a name in, so it can be duplicated. It can be counted multiple times through the machines.
So these are open source.
Open source.
Oh, yeah, that where people could see. And the only other thing I would add is counting publicly, like having like a system where people watch these ballots being counted.
Oh, absolutely. He talks briefly real quick. I just want him to talk about, and now this is a guy who's been in elections for so long. We talked about the mail-in system, like, wow, this is going to be out of control if they do this. I just want an expert to give his opinion on it real quick, and just listen to what David Weber says about this.
Good check. But compare and contrast that
to what we did.
to sending out millions of ballots just in a shotgun to mailboxes across a state with zero control.
Yeah.
What the heck? Who knows who is getting those and what is happening to them? And there's no correlation one-to-one. I mean, the immediate thing that jumps out at me is that when you're print delivering these ballots, we're all familiar with QR codes.
Yeah.
Amazon uses them, etc. you can put a unique QR code on. So you're not necessarily identifying the voter, but you're at least identifying that this is a legitimate ballot that we have verified and delivered to the right person. And when it comes back in, we can check that QR code and make sure that somebody hasn't photocopied it and run off 1,000 copies of it and sent in 1,000 of them.
So once again, he's talking about unique QR codes, which are not, like, say, some states don't use QR codes. We do, but are they unique? You know, I keep asking him every single time. Did you ask last time you voted, Johnny? I asked too. I said, what is this QR code for? And she goes, that's just to identify the district that you're voting in so we know where to tabulate it properly. So, you know, a lot of people were complaining that if it's a unique QR code, they want to make sure that they can't identify the voter because, once again, you know, we talk about the divides, fam. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's as much as it is. The biggest divide, in other words, is politically. They want to be able to politically disavow ballots. If the Democrats know who the Bernie Sanders supporters are, they can eliminate those ballots. So I know a lot of people were questioning the QR codes, you know, as Bernie Sanders people, like, are they going to be able to legitimately find us and make sure that our vote's not counted? So we talk about the system with David Weber, and he says the paper ballots that are mailed out everywhere are just, they were ridiculous. They shouldn't have shotgunned these out. There's no control. And he thinks about this system that he invented with his small team 10 years ago, and they had the plug pulled on them by Microsoft. Microsoft came in, lobbied the state legislator, and kicked them out. So therefore, the system that they had tested on veterans and overseas voters was successful, but was never used.
Of course. So. It wasn't. Johnny, did you need to say anything? Okay.
This is the part right here I had a moment, fam, because, you know, you start thinking about the 300 and something odd million, right, John? And Johnny knows about this stuff. And we start talking about the paper companies. Well, he goes, well, the paper companies is another financial scam because the paper companies have to work in conjunction with the tabulation companies to make sure that their ballots can be applicable in their machine. So therefore that you have to use these paper companies. Because I was saying, why the hell are we using a company in Washington? Well, it's another scam for money. Oh, you got to use this company because they make ballots that work in our machines, that are adaptable to our machines. So now they charge them a hell of a lot of crazy money. We know what K&H got. K&H is the paper is the printer vendor for the ballots. And David also explained to me in the interview that just like the tabulation machines, ES&S, Hart, Smartmatic, Dominion, all these names that we've been saying for years, you know what I'm saying? The paper companies are the similar, and they work in conjunction, and it's a financial scheme. They can also suck out a ton of monies. So when a lot of people talk about elections, how do we save money? This money costs too much. Here's a moment where he talks about his mail-in system eliminates the third-party paper company, and I was like, wow, if you can present that to a legislation where we're going to save a ton of money now, that's great. So this is David talking about that. It's why we would go all the way to Washington. But this particular company is almost like Dominion and ES&S in the sense that you really don't know who owns them. It's a subsidiary company of another zombie company of another company. However, what you explained to me, a company like K&H that we use in Los Angeles and our tabulation machines in Smartmatic have to be compatible with each other because the Smartmatic machine will only take a ballot from K&H that is acceptable by the Smartmatic machine. So they have to work with each other somehow, correct?
Correct. And this was another thing that we kind of broke the mold of when we did the system for Virginia and the various other states. Because this was a nice little money earner for these election companies producing these ballots. And of course, what we were doing with the FAP system is dynamically printing these ballots straight out of your printer. So no third parties needed. The computer software rendered the ballot exactly as the state required.
You eliminate the paper company.
You eliminate them.
That's great. That's a ton of money saved.
Ton of money saved.
Wow. Wow, David, no. I mean, the fact is like, we talk about the chain of custody. We talk about elections. How about eliminating the company that just prints the ballots, that can print them out like confetti, and it's connected in directly with the software and the machines we're using right there? We got to get that straight in a second. But what you're saying, and in your system, You eliminated the paper company. People just have to go print their own ballots, and it's all secure.
Yep. And it's
wow.
computed.
David,
Yep.
I'm having a moment. Like, really, I had a moment. I was like, that's amazing. I'm like, we can do this, and it's secure, and it's safe.
Because what about a paper trail, though?
That is a paper trail. You print it out.
Yeah,
right?
But then you get rid of it.
Well, that's the thing. If you try to get rid of it and you try to print it again, the system won't let you print it again. You have to go through another format to get it printed again. So how is that
a paper trail if you have to?
Well, it prints out. Now your QR code is, then you send it off with tracking, and it's tracked. And then when they receive it, they know that it's an actual paper trail. When it was printed, when it left, when it got to you, the whole 9 yards. The whole system is secure. The main thing is fam, and I can't remember, John, how much we were paying K&H. And I think there was a clause, like in the second paragraph of that contract, that said they can get more money from us. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's a scam. All the vendors are involved, and they're getting greased. And that is something I think right here. I mean, I don't know if this is the system that works, but I would like to look more into this system.
You're telling me that in a capitalist country that they're going to use capitalist methods to run our elections?
Yeah,
exactly. We privatize every freaking industry. Do you not think we're going to privatize the
elections?
Come on.
I know, but people don't even realize it's like everybody's involved. Everybody's got their hands. There's money's being handed out hand over foot. The last part, when it comes to David Weber, the last two parts. The glitch. Okay. Yeah. I want to talk about the glitch real quick because the glitch is really, really important, because there were two major glitches in which election workers said something's going wrong here. Mm-hmm. The votes are not being tallied. Oh, they went in, it was a glitch. So he describes the glitch in detail of what went on. So he tells you what they did. So in on that.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did in that software and that open source approach was to build the entire ballot dynamically. So depending on what contest you were, whether you were voting for in the Senate race or the county race or the whatever, it was all produced dynamically. So it was not an issue for us. Okay.
Yeah.
And we got the updates, put them in, and the software is ready to roll.
Gotcha.
So now fast forward to Pennsylvania, and Dominion telling us that they had a glitch and the people didn't apply the right update. So they had voting machines that were not using the right template for the ballot. And that caused races to be skewed because ballots were being counted incorrectly. So let's just think about that whole scenario. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine, I'll just use my hand here. If I put a race in here or a proposal in here, everything is now moved down one.
Gotcha.
Okay.
4 becomes 5.
Using the old,
yeah.
So if I'm using the old definition, Republican just became Democrat, Democrat just became Republican, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
So now we were told that this wasn't Dominion's fault, and it was just human error and it's a glitch. And I'm looking at that as an election integrity person and saying, oh my goodness, they complain about the Chinese and back doors, and here is a gigantic ocean liner sized back door. Okay. Because what the software should be doing when these results are being tallied is it should be verifying the version of the ballot against the latest version number. And if it doesn't match, that's an error, a red flag pops up, and somebody has to go and investigate and fix it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was not doing that is a major issue.
Yeah.
And it's not a software glitch issue. It's not a human error glitch issue. It's a software design and integrity issue.
So the programming issue is pretty much, they didn't program it right.
Absolutely, 100%.
So he kind of explained the glitch. And remember, I think there was that Viva La Fry video that a lot of people talked about that he read. He's like, look at these jerk-offs. You can expose them in their own writing. And the mental gymnastics they play to try to say it wasn't a human error, but it was a human error. And they tiptoe around it. And he's like, no, it's a software and integrity error over here. You guys are playing games. You're leaving back doors open. He said an ocean liner back door. And you're flipping, you're deceiving the public with your proprietary software.
And why listen to the New York Times? It was lied to you countless times.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand that sort of hypocrisy with progressives. Like, oh, all of a sudden you're going to listen to New York Times, Nancy Pelosi, CIA, MSNBC, Washington Post, all these people who are in complete agreement in trying to dismiss this as not fraud, as a complete Trumpian thing to say.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Trump, he has said a lot of lies, so obviously this is what they're counting on. They are counting on you believing that just because he lies all the time, that he's lying about this. The thing is, this isn't about him. This has been a problem that has infested our whole country for decades and decades and decades, and the right is just realizing it because now they're on the other side where they're being wronged. And we're like, hello, this is how it's felt for us for a long time. Now, welcome to the fight. Nice to meet you. Now, do it the right way. Listen to people like this guy who are nonpartisan, who are literally telling you, hey, I designed programs. I did this 10 years ago. Like, this is what we have to do. Stop freaking making this about ideology. This is about our country as a whole, period.
Yeah. Amen, sister. Because I'd sent somebody a message. I said, oh, now the right is finally joining the party.
Right.
Welcome. But, not for nothing, fam. And I know Johnny can attest to this since he's been here. We've been talking about election integrity, breaking it down to the sources since he's come here, before he's come here. Niko, who we happened to team up with the whole Jared Beck case, the first time he went on Jimmy Dore, he went on as election integrity activist to talk about that case. These are things we've been talking about for a long time. Mainly, the main thing, the proprietary software. The power doesn't lie with those who cast a vote. The power lies with those who count the votes.
Gangs of New York.
And and now like people are saying, look at these quotes. I'm like, I haven't shut up about that quote for about 2 freaking years because I've been trying to get you guys to see, and we've been trying to get you guys to see, hey, listen, they cheated Bernie. And I believe the super chat right here, it says right here, David. Bernie, thank you for the super chat contribution. He says Bernie would be the new president if he would have fought, but he's too insecure and needs approval from the neoliberal crooks. So he surrendered to them. And that is the truth. I mean, the fact that he's going on and saying stuff, it's like,
we're going to talk about Bernie.
I mean, you can't sit there and say, I don't want to jump into it. You can't say you're for everybody's vote and you're not going to stand up and fight for it, especially today. And a lot of things changed in 2004. And this goes back to Clint Curtis and stuff. When George Bush, he won his second election. The first election he won was in the cross-reference list in Florida by purging people from the voting rolls by using a cross-reference list of felons that couldn't vote. Common names of those people who were arrested could not vote. And he struck a lot of people from the voter rolls. Different story this time out, but that is one of the ways it happened. 2004, Ohio, flipping votes. They went in there. They looked at the software. They found out the people were crying in Ohio because they realized they had verified an election that probably wasn't right. Yep. And since then, it's been about an all-out war. Who can cheat better? Yep. Republicans or Democrats? And the Democrats have been using these tools of the proprietary software. And more importantly, they've been using them in their primaries to cheat progressives. That's the main reason why we've been crazy. The main reason why we went nuts is we felt that he didn't get the votes and he got it cheated. More or less, it's very easy to spot this stuff now, fam, because we've been looking in the right areas. Now we talk about, before we get to this, do you want to say anything about the glitch?
No, go ahead.
Patterns, the way the patterns of the votes come in, right? Mm-hmm. Texas, how it swung so quickly. Michigan, how they call for Biden at 54%, because patterns of votings usually stay general. So these abnormal ballots coming, or these abnormal counts for Biden in the middle of the night, they just make zero sense. So let's talk about patterns real quick with David Weber.
Yep. So, I mean, we're looking at percentages here and saying, so far, 56% of people have voted this way and 42% have voted that way. And this has a, 100,000 lead. So if that same pattern continues with the rest of the ballots, then there's no way that this is going to be able to change the election result and the outcome. And we have fun things, because I remember it was back in the Bush era, up in the Northeast, there was an election where it was midnight and the result was XYZ. And what was amazing was that the digital results hadn't been tallied and brought in. And you'd think it would be the reverse, right?
Yeah.
The counties that were counting by hand with paper ballots would be still counting, and the digitals
would be in quickly.
Yeah. And lo and behold, the digital records came in with a 17% shift in the balloting trend, and that reversed the election at that point. Does this sound familiar?
It sounded like what happened the other day. It sounded.
And here's the double whammy. Here's the good bit. So a lot of these states with these digital systems, they've enacted laws where they say, if it's within 5% of a result, so the total ballots are within 5%, then we need to do an audit, and we need to do, look at things to make sure that the result will stand. So what that tells somebody that is looking at this is, if you're going to cheat, if you're going to, go out there, make sure you cheat big, because that way they won't check it.
It's the 5%. Yeah. So
right.
You could see him laughing hysterically. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
Fam, we saw this and we're like, there's no way he could catch up. But if you're going to cheat big. And what he talked about, a scenario where they counted by hand, it's on point. And when you count digitally coming in, it's like, wait a second. So
it is just very devastating to me and sad that the vast majority of the left, including progressives, including many of our friends, have bought into this lie that this is something to scoff at. Oh, there's no way. The real story is that, the purging with the Republicans doing it, Trump's minions cheating. It's just, to me, it is very, very sad that you've managed to be this duped, because you're following along with what everybody else is saying, and it takes a fucking backbone to actually stand up and be like, you know what, we're going to look at this without our emotions. We're going to look at this logically and see that these elections have not been fair for a long time. So actually, going even just by that logic, thinking that this election is going to be any different is ludicrous. It is absolutely ludicrous. And the mainstream media has been the main manipulator, getting everybody, including progressives, to fall in victims into this thing where it's like, well, we're just going to buy what they're saying just this one time because we hate Donald Trump so much. It's like, you can hate Donald Trump all you want, but this something happened here. And all these experts are pointing it out, not just us.
Fam, this particular, I'm glad you said that with the whole voter rolls and the whole, because it has happened before. In 2000, it was disgusting. It was the most racist thing I've ever seen. People like Mike Jones, who were arrested and had a felony. Anybody who had the name Mike Jones couldn't vote. They purged him. And it has been done before, and that was the Bush Klan. We talked about that. So to say it hasn't been done before is inaccurate.
Absolutely has been done.
But we saw 2 points. Number one, we saw the Democrats do it to the progressives more than anything. I mean, me and Johnny, I think we were out in Eagle Rock, and we caught some people, and they're like, listen, we were on the voter rolls. We have the email right here. We see it. They took us off. They gave us provisional ballots. So we've seen it been used by the Democrats to say, you know what I'm saying? So you can't just push out one side and say, oh, the Republicans are doing it. It's racially motivated. They're purging people from the rolls. That's it. That's the real story here. We're missing that. Because when people do this analysis, they look about all these people who were removed from the rolls, but they don't equate in how many people come on the rolls. Right. And the whole second point I want to make when it comes to the rolls is that I think it's a disingenuous argument when you don't accept the fact that the rolls are dirty. People move, people die. Who in here, ladies and gentlemen, anybody watching, when you moved, you called the Board of Elections in your previous state and say, hey, man, take me off the voter rolls? It doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's really a disingenuous argument when you say that it's just done racially motivated. Not to say it hasn't happened, it couldn't happen.
Absolutely happens.
It has happened in the past, but to say this in an area where it's very cloudy, where we have to come up with situations, we have to come up with solutions to get this right. You know, I'm one of those people who feel that when you're 18, automatically rolled.
That's it.
If you're not on the rolls or whatever,
Voting
you
should
can
be a holiday.
Exactly. Automatic registration when you're there. I saw a lot of people in the 2020 primary in California get suppressed. Long lines. What's going on?
Yep.
Did we see that in the general? Did we see a lot of people calling in saying, hey, we weren't allowed to vote? We didn't see a lot of that.
No.
I didn't see enough. And if you do have that evidence of all these people getting purged and where they got purged, show us. But to make that blanket general statement that it's just racially motivated when it comes to the rolls, yes, there is people in there racially motivated to do this. But Donald Trump, once again, got more people of color of votes since any Republican since 1960.
Right.
So if those names were purged, why? If they were purged, then why did they show up for him? You know what I'm saying? I will argue this left and right. The biggest divide we have right now is a political tribal vibe, tribal divide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the divide. It's not, we see a lot of people of color who are Trump supporters now. We've actually seen gay people who are Trump supporters at these rallies from the LGBT people for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We see this now. So I don't think you can easily fix an election. And to think that Joe Biden was cheated out of millions of votes when he's almost 9 million more votes than Barack Obama is... It's really insane out there, and anybody who's trying to peddle this
9 million more votes than Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Do you guys really buy that?
And he got and supposedly Trump's minions purged more people from Joe Biden, and that's the real story.
And he would have gotten how many more votes?
He would have got 12 million more than. I mean, this is insane that these people.
How
are saying
you
this.
buying this, you guys? Seriously,
And
step aside.
Yeah.
Like, how are you buying this?
Yeah, and believe you me, when we started up in the election integrity community, and we talked to a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Across the board, fam, there are people who were not talking to each other, not working with each other. I was like, oh, the election integrity activists are just like the regular activists we see on the street.
Yeah, they fight each other.
They fight each other about stupid shit about lunch, but there's a divide there.
Yep.
And one group of people on this one side, in particular, where do they get their money from? Who are they working for? How are they motivated from? You know what I'm saying? This whole thought process that Biden and Trump's minions, and I'll say this again, Trump doesn't come from a political dynasty. George Bush can pull that off, fam. He's got friends in places. His father's been in politics for a long time. It's a family dynasty. You can pull it off.
Right.
The way Joe Biden cheated right now, once again, 47 years in politics, a big family. You can pull it off. Trump doesn't have those people. The Republicans, half the Republicans want him gone.
Yeah, the Republicans, that's it. His own party wants him gone, you guys. Like, this isn't, like, I mean, I'm not saying Donald Trump is a victim. I mean, he literally, he put himself in this situation, so to speak. But our election system, we are the victims of this election system. That's
And this is a red herring to think that the purging of the voter rolls is the big story that we're missing, that Biden didn't get enough votes.
No.
Get out of here. 92%. Some person said that the big purge was coming in Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin had a 92% participation rate, fam. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love to see that happen. But if you believe that 92% of the people participated, I mean, come on, guys. Come on.
Off of like 40%?
60, I think the highest ever was 67% ever. They said in one race in Wisconsin they had a 73% participation rate in a local race or some stuff.
In a local race,
but 92%.
Nah, that's just
Where's the
statistically
purge?
improbable.
Where's the purge? I asked David Weber about the voter rolls. I put it up on a tweet, ladies and gentlemen. Just really quick here, and when I ask him about this thing, he knows exactly who I'm talking about. He laughs. Could we talk about a second about the voter rolls briefly? Because I think a lot of people. Talk about these voter rolls, and there's a group of people out there that are saying that the Republicans cheat by purging people from the voter rolls, and that they did it again, that if they didn't purge so many people this time, that Biden would have won by even a greater number. However, we look at these voter rolls and they are dirty as far as people who have moved on, people who have passed away and whatnot. Can you explain to us a little bit about the voter rolls?
But my sense is that these election rolls, I mean, each state has these what they call poll book systems, and you've seen these when you go to vote. They look you up, and they check off that you've got your ballot and everything else. And to me, it seems like no. I mean, if you look at people getting married, divorced, moving house every 7 years on average. You've got this thrash constantly going on of people coming in and out of your state. And so at the end of the day, it's all going to be a wash. And
you mean when they take people off? When they purge
take people off, they add other people on. People are coming in and casting provisional ballots because they haven't had time to get onto the roll, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So to me, and how many thousand are we talking about? If it comes down to it, yes, it could possibly, if the election is really tight and you're talking about a few hundred votes. But at the end of the day, it's not like it's a Democrat or Republican or a liberal or a green candidate thing. Everybody's getting, a fair crack at that.
All right. So, David Weber, fam, your thoughts on that, on what he says about
he's
the
100% right. I mean, this is a problem that we need to fix, and it shouldn't be, again, pinned to one certain ideology or looked as being non-democratic or looked as being an attempt to suppress democracy. This is like why our system is faulty. In fact, we should have people looking over the voter rolls, calling people. We should have the mainstream media being like, okay, you're going to be receiving a phone call or a text from so-and-so to verify where you live and blah, 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 just so you have no issues, blah, blah, blah. That should be something that should be talked about and done. That's not done for a reason. They don't want you to vote. They don't want your vote to count. Because it doesn't matter. At this point, they manipulate the elections. You voted for Bernie Sanders, guess what? Chances are that vote didn't count. That vote went to Joe Biden, or that vote went to a provisional ballot, or whatever it is. There's just so many ways that this election system is bought. And the vast, I think, main issue here is that we don't control our elections. Corporations control our elections. Our elections are privatized. And if you don't believe that that's a problem, if you still think that somehow your vote's going to count in a democratic way when you and I and the people don't own our elections, well, I don't know what to tell you. Then we deserve to have what we have, because it just doesn't make logical sense.
Yep. Amber King also says why states like Alaska passed ranked choice voting and a supposed liberal state like Massachusetts couldn't come close. XO, heart fam, we love you, Amber King.
Thank you, Amber King.
For the super chat contribution, and our good friend Darren Levy. Thank you for the super chat contribution.
Darren.
It is always appreciated on this couch. It makes me think that Bernie was a willing participant in the fraud and sham of 2 rigged primaries. Compare him to AMLO, who has refused to acknowledge Biden as the winner, as AMLO himself suffered from election fraud. And AMLO fought it the first time, and they put in safeguards, so the second time when things came around, he won. But he had to fight it. And Bernie Sanders did not fight it. We know, everybody in this room here knows a little bit more than others, because we've talked to people in the community, we've talked to people who've been screwed, that Bernie Sanders had an opportunity to protest these primaries and didn't. He chose not to. He had the money, he had the resources, he had the lawyers ready to go to seize the data, to open this shit up, and he chose not to. And that is, you have to question why. I'd like to think, because I love Bernie and the way he made us move, that it was because he lacked the political will, or I don't want to see anybody threatened, but if he was threatened, that makes a little bit more sense, the way he kind of turned and acted. But it's food for thought, fam. Why didn't he fight this tooth and nail to make sure that everybody's vote counts?
I mean, look at what they're doing to Donald Trump. You know what I mean? I think part of it was also the fear of being Ralph Nadered, and I know that for sure. But at the same time, it's also just look at what we're doing to people. Anybody that talks about election integrity in a nonpartisan way, look at how we vilify them, how we call them names and all this other crap. This issue, and right now, it should be made a huge issue, regardless of Trump, regardless of I think Biden is going to take this, because they don't want Donald Trump in there, and they're making that very clear. So that's regardless of it. In a few years, you're going to want to get a progressive in there. You're going to run into the same freaking bullshit, the same bullshit over and over again. And more people are going to be completely done with the system, and they're not going to vote. Why do you think so many people don't vote? People don't believe in the system, and that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy. Proprietary software, black box voting, we can't see it. We own these elections. This is our elections. Open source transparency, audits, hand-counted audits in public, all those. There's so many ways we can fix the election. All the election integrity activists are in place. And, the great thing about Dr. Shiva's video the other day, we kind of referenced it, is that it had all different aspects involved. It had John Brakey, who we had on the show, who talks about the images that's, casted and counted. John can tell you a lot about that right now, about the machines. Once they process them through, they take a picture. You know what I'm saying? Public record, put that on the internet right there. Open source machine. That's the open source community. They get what they got. Hand counted audit, all the hand counters get what they want. Everything is encompassed at one. Now, all these groups are not talking to each other, but that was a solution I saw, that what we need to do moving forward, that incorporated everybody's idea. Now you throw in David Weber when it comes to the mail-in situation, you know what I'm saying? And also, I'm a big believer that you should go do your civic duty and you should go and vote. But if it takes 7 hours to vote, I can't blame you for not going. I like Clinton Curtis's idea that for every hour you wait, in addition to 60 minutes, as they got 60 minutes to get you in and out, every hour after that, the county has to pay you $100 or $200. They'll straighten out that shit real quick, fam. They'll make it very mellifluous if it's going to cost them money. So there's so many things we can put in play to really fix our elections. We could be the gold standard. We have all the knowledge here, to be the gold standard of elections. Really.
They don't want it.
They don't want it. They want this thing. They want the waters muddied on purpose. So why? And the Democrats, they've had all these ways that they could fix the elections. And instead, since 2016, fam, we've gone backwards. We haven't gone forward. We've gone backwards. And it's just crazy that Donald Trump getting cheated is the first thing to put all this stuff into the flashlight, the sunlight, if you may. Okay. Johnny, anything else before we get to the Sidney Powell stuff? Okay, so on Sunday, while I was kind of going back and forth fighting with the whole, purging kind of stories from the left and back and right, somebody had texted me like, oh, did you just see Sidney Powell on Maria Bartiromo? She just said all this stuff. And, Sidney Powell, I've always paid attention to. I first was aware of Sidney Powell when she started defending General Flynn. She's an author. She's writes some stuff. And the stuff that she really brought out when it came to General Flynn exposed a lot of the Russiagate stuff. You know what I'm saying? She's been always one of those active lawyers pushing for stuff. So she went on Bartiromo to talk about the elections and the stuff she talked about. Let's just take a look. Let's start this off with evidence, what she talks about.
Sidney, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate your time this morning. I want to get right into it. We just heard about the software made by Smartmatic from Rudy, and I want to get your take on what you and I spoke about just a few minutes ago, and that is a gentleman named Peter Neffinger. Tell me how he fits into all of this.
Yes, well, he is listed as its former Admiral Peter Neffinger, or retired Admiral Peter Neffinger. He is president and on the board of directors of Smartmatic. And it just so happens he's on Mr. Biden's presidential transition team that's going to be non-existent because we're fixing to overturn the results of the election in multiple states. And President Trump won by not just hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were shifted by this software that was designed expressly for that purpose. We have sworn witness testimony of why the software was designed. It was designed to rig elections. He was fully briefed on it. He saw it happen in other countries. It was exported internationally for profit by the people that are behind Smartmatic and Dominion. They did this on purpose. It was calculated. They've done it before. We have evidence from 2016 in California. We have so much evidence, I feel like it's coming in through a fire hose.
2016 in California? I'm sorry. You know what she's talking about, 2016 in California, right? She's talking about that primary race. She's talking about that Bernie race that after they started going through it, Bernie started flipping states. We knew something was going on. The numbers weren't adding up when they came in. And also, I don't want to talk about it, but another admiral, well, not admiral, but a lieutenant general of the Air Force, who was number 3 when he retired, talked about they did it in this particular primary where Biden cheated Bernie. And that's where they used this program she's talking about. It's called Hammer and Scorecard. For us, it's just another algorithm programming thing because they all do this. ES&S does this. Hart does this. All the software is proprietary. So, fam, so yes. Anything to say about that?
No, just...
She says she never can say anything she can prove. This is a good part right here.
Wow. So, Sydney, you feel that you will be able to prove this. Do you have the software in your possession? Do you have the hardware in your possession? How will you prove this, Sydney?
Well, I've got lots of ways to prove it, Maria, but I'm not going to tell on national TV what all we have. I just can't do that.
Okay, but you have a small time frame here. The elections are supposed to be certified in early December. Do you believe that you can present this to the courts and be successful within this just couple of weeks?
Well, let me put it this way. First of all, I never say anything I can't prove. Secondly, the evidence is coming in so fast, I can't even process it all. Millions of Americans have written, I would say by now, definitely hundreds of thousands have stepped forward with their different experiences of voter fraud. But this is a massive election fraud, and I'm very concerned it involved not only Dominion and its Smartmatic software, but that the software essentially was used by other election machines also. It's the software that was the problem. Even their own manual explains how votes can be wiped away. They can it's like drag and drop Trump votes to a separate folder and then delete that folder. It's absolutely brazen how people bought this system and why they bought this system. In fact, every state that bought Dominion for sure should have a criminal investigation, or at least a serious investigation of the officers in the states who bought the software. We've even got evidence of some kickbacks, essentially.
Kickbacks.
All right. Fam.
I mean, the fact that they're finally differentiating between voter fraud and election fraud, because individuals doing this isn't going to cause much of anything like that. It's, first of all, it's a felony. Second of all, it's a lot of work to do for just one more vote. This mechanisms. These are organizations. These are the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, whoever, behind people. Yeah. Exactly. These members of the establishment behind this. It is election fraud, and it's about time the right starts using the right terminology, so they don't, so the liberals don't come saying, oh, well, voter fraud doesn't really happen. Yeah, because it doesn't really happen that much. But when you talk about election fraud, now that's a whole other thing that happens all the time.
It gets juicier, fam. I just wanted to show you. Lou Dobbs even made the same correction that night. I heard somebody said, hey, look, Lou Dobbs even said election fraud instead of voter fraud. They're getting away from it. They're learning. They're talking about the software. It gets juicier.
Real quick, Pasa. So I'm watching this, and kind of like my lefty senses are tingling. Like, why are we watching Fox News and everything? So can you explain to myself and the audience, like why we're watching this lady, and what kind of credibility she has and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't believe in a lot of the ideology when it comes to Maria Bartiromo, when it comes to our foreign policy and stuff.
She's the Fox News.
She's a Fox News person. I once again, she's not like one of my least favorite. I kind of enjoy her here and there. I don't necessarily agree and whatnot. And she was the one who talked about we know that the Smartmatic is located in Venezuela, right? Mm-hmm. That's where we traced it down to. We didn't know who necessarily owned it from there, but we knew the office was there. I don't like the spin that they get, with the Hugo Chavez, and they go back to that sort of thing and everything like that.
Yep.
What needs to be said is the proprietary software, the proprietary ownership. It's really hard to track down who owns what, who does what.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why we're watching Fox is because MSNBC, CNN, they're not going to have these people on. They're not going to have the military people on that are talking against their military people on.
Right.
They're playing the game, like, just keep talking as it's over. So just talk as it's over. So if anything comes about it, there'll be an uproar from the left saying we got cheated, whatnot. So they're talking about what their game is. What's the transition team? What are we doing moving forward? Let's make it look like he's a donkey. Sidney Powell wasn't invited on MSNBC and CNN to talk about these things. And whether you like it or not, she's one of the lead lawyers in these cases for Donald Trump.
Oh, I see. Okay, she's one of the top lawyers.
She's one of the top lawyers in this case. And that
Trump.
The Trump for this case. He went immediately grabbed her because she had such success in the Flynn case where she got a lot of things declassified. So we saw Obamagate, Russiagate for what it was because they were attacking General Flynn. And we showed how that transpired. So once again, they're not talking about this. They're not even talking about it on half the Fox shows. And half the Fox shows, they're saying that Donald Trump is crazy and that he shouldn't be listened to, cutting his mic off. Neil Cavuto. So it is crazy. Like I said, it's bizarro world. Every single time I'm going through this whole thing, I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to play a clip from Fox today and break it down. Because why? The left is not talking about it, because the left, especially the MSNBC and CNN, who are tied to people like Clapper and Brennan, who are Obama and Clinton loyalists within the State Department, within the intelligence community. And she'll talk about it in this next clip. I think it gets juicier. But the clip after, she talks about the CIA and the FBI, and she said like Gina Haspel should get her ass fired. Why? Because they protect each other. They don't give the American public. You don't deserve to see the truth, you plebs.
This is the establishment. Again, the oligarchy versus the people. Those are the real lines that are being exposed here, rather than the left versus right paradigm. That's eventually, I hope, going to become irrelevant. Right now, the situation that we're seeing is that there are people on both sides of the aisle who want Donald Trump gone, who want the CIA in. I'm not saying Trump is an innocent guy, but the CIA, the NSA, for some reason, they don't think he's hawkish enough. They don't think he has done their bidding enough, and they're going to get rid of him. And that is what we're seeing play out here.
We are back with attorney Sidney Powell, who's part of President Trump's legal team. Sidney, before we went to the break, we talked about, you said that there may have been kickbacks to some people who accepted the Dominion software. Tell me what you mean.
Well, I mean, we are collecting evidence now from various whistleblowers that are aware of substantial sums of money being given to family members of state officials who bought this software. I mean, we're talking about $100 million packages for new voting machines suddenly in multiple states, and benefits ranging from financial benefits for family members to sort of what I would call election insurance. Because they know that they can win the election if they are using that software. It's really an insidious, corrupt system, and I can't tell you how livid I am with our government for not paying attention to complaints even brought by Democrats, Carolyn Maloney, Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, over the last several years in written letters with expert reports and some documentation of how corrupt this software is, and nobody in our government has paid any attention to it, which makes me wonder how much the CIA has used it for its own benefit in different places, and why Gina Haspel is still there in the CIA is beyond my comprehension. She should be fired immediately.
All right, fam, they watched Convo Couch. Right? No, it's kind of funny because you were the first person like, oh, man, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that Elizabeth Warren, Klobuchar,
Robbie Yeager brought it to our attention. Yeah, I'm fancy guy.
So I think that somebody said, yo, did you see the Convo Couch? Tell Sidney Powell that the Democrats looked this up really quick because it wasn't on Parler either. You know what I'm saying? Parler and Fox News are following. They're trolling us, fam, to get the left.
I don't really care who gets it, but the fact that it's getting out there is, to me, the most important thing, because the reality is, again, this has been a long time. Why hasn't this been brought to the attention? Because there wasn't a reason to. Because like I said, the left is very weak on election integrity. Only a few of us were talking about Bernie being cheated. Even some of his supporters to this day still don't believe that he got cheated.
I mean, ridiculous.
They still don't believe that.
That's crazy because this interview was released on yesterday, 15th.
Yeah.
So
we talked about
what
that.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's been watching the Convo Couch. And what she said, she goes, or Robbie. But it's ridiculous because she did say, she says, I can't believe nobody was looking at this stuff. Like, we were the election integrity activists in the background going, yo, everything they're saying is everything we've been saying for the last 3 years, that this software flip shit.
And it doesn't become fiction just because the right is saying it, because we said it way before they did. So you can't just even take that and say, that's a right-wing talking point. No, it's not.
Nope.
It wasn't a right-wing talking point 6-8 months ago.
And also when Warren and Klobuchar put that shit out.
It wasn't a right-wing talking point then.
DC says, Niko and the three of y'all deserve Pulitzers. TYFYS. Thank you for that super chat contribution. And because I just got in an argument on the Discord server defending what you're doing. I love what you stand for. Thank you for all you do. Mona Carmona with that purple
Thank you,
heart.
Mona. We appreciate you.
We appreciate
really.
you. We appreciate all the 500 people that are hanging out over here. We appreciate the 30 viewers on the Rokfin, but we need to get that number up, and there's even 12 over on the Facebook. Fam, we have another part of this video. It's still not done yet. Take a look at this.
Should be fired immediately. You're saying that the CIA is behind the Dominion or Smartmatic voting software as well?
Well, the CIA and the FBI and other government organizations have received multiple reports of wrongdoing and failures and vulnerabilities in this company's product. Their own manual, if you sat down and read it, would explain how and why no honest person would use this system. And it's not just Dominion. There are other companies in the voting machine business in this country, too, that may very well and are likely using the same software. We've detected voting irregularities that are inexplicable and align with these problems in other states that think they have valid systems. But the people who bought the Dominion system for sure knew exactly what they were getting. It should never have been installed anywhere. And we are going to show the public exactly how rotten the entire state is.
Damn.
Bam.
Those are some hefty revelations there. I would watch my back if I were you, Sydney, because she's not, in exposing this, she must know that she's not only going to go after the establishment Democrats, but she's going to go after the establishment Republicans that are also in line. You have to remember, there's a reason why George W. Bush endorsed Joe Biden over Donald Trump. If it was solely on ideology, of course Bush would be endorsing Donald Trump. But it's not about that. This is about the CIA, the NSA, these corporate interests infesting our whole everything in our world. But now our elections are completely 100% manipulated. And if you continue to believe these lies that they're not just because you hate Trump so much, you're only doing yourself and this country and progressives and anything you ever want to achieve via an electoral system, you're doing that a disservice and you're making it an impossibility.
Yep. And if you allow them to cheat Donald Trump, you're giving them a permission slip to continue to cheat you, because she talked about it. And, this is the video with Tim Canova and Niko. We were beating up on an ES&S machine. Same thing. Software, proprietary. They can flip votes, and they have. So when people were talking about Hammer and Scorecard, which is this whole kind of algorithm program, it's like that's just another program that they've had in all these machines. I don't give a shit what you want to call it. The fact is that we can't look at it. It's not transparent, and our corporations own us and own our elections. How do they fix the machines? Let's take it, Elika. That was Fiorella, keep your eye on the spooks, Majorca, giving her take. How do we fix these machines?
Now, I have spoken with a few whistleblowers myself this weekend. And one source who is an IT specialist told me that he knows the software and specifically advised people in Texas, officials in Texas, not to use it. And yet he was overruled. He said that there was an unusual patch that was put into the software while it was live, and it's highly unusual to put a patch in there. Is that what you're referring to? Tell me how it's done and how these back doors work.
Okay, that's part of it. They can stick a thumb drive in the machine or upload software to it, even from the internet. They can do it from Germany or Venezuela even. They can remote access anything. They can watch votes in real time. They can shift votes in real time. We've identified mathematically the exact algorithm they used and plan to use from the beginning to modify the votes in this case to make sure Biden won. That's why he said he didn't need your votes now. He would need you later. He was right. I mean, in his demented state, he had no filter, and he was speaking the truth more than once, including when he said he had the largest voter fraud organization ever. Well, it's massive election fraud. It's going to undo the entire election. And they can do anything they want with the votes. They can have the machines not read the signature. They can have the machines not read the down ballot. They can make the machines read and catalog only the Biden votes. It's like drag and drop whatever you want, wherever you want, upload votes. Yeah. In fact, we've got math in Michigan and Pennsylvania, I think it is, that all of a sudden hundreds of thousands of votes at a 67% ratio for Biden, 23% for Trump were uploaded multiple times into the system.
All right. Now, in all fairness, the whole Venezuelan thing, she's talking about Smartmatic is located in Venezuela, but this is the part that does make me nervous when they start talking about.
Yeah.
So if they overturn these elections, I'm fearful that we're gonna go. The Trump team is gonna go balls out into friggin' Venezuela,
and then I'm gonna go attack them like I've always attacked them on that, because stop tying these things to your ideology and your neo-McCarthyism about Venezuela and how Venezuela is the big. No, your own government is doing it. These Democrats and these Republicans and the establishment, the oligarchy. You don't need foreign intervention. You don't need Russia. You don't need China. You don't need Venezuela. You don't need all these people who have far better elections than we do. So it really irks me when they go on that level. But what she said, literally everything else that she's saying about the what is it, like this as SIM cards, the USB. We have been talking about that for years now. Yeah. You can go back on our videos and find Johnny and Pasta and me and Niko and all these people talking about these machines and Canova, all of that. She literally is repeating what we have been saying for years.
Yeah. And New Hampshire, Johnny's SIM card, he can tell you all about it too. And Johnny, what about the whole part when you talked about the USB cable that can go right in there and stuff? Didn't we talk about a situation right now with accessing ballots in Los Angeles that somebody can go through the back door as long as they've been accessed, or as long as they have accessibility?
Yeah. Well, the tally machines can be accessed. When they said they're just scanning and processing ballots, they run it through the tally machine and it fucking saves the ballot images in a server somewhere. And you're going to tell me that we're just going to trust these election officials not to go in there and change things up. I saw a USB on their little. There's a little station over there. You can check it out on my Twitter. It's my pinned tweet. There's a USB and Ethernet cable attached there, and I'm like, why is there a USB there? I don't know. You know. Yeah. Things just aren't transparent. That's my main message.
That's the breaking message. We just fighting for transparency. All we're doing is fighting for transparency, and we have zero transparency. We're flying blind, ladies.
And why are they fighting you against transparency?
Against transparency. Let's run it out right here, real quick. Yeah.
And Sydney, you say you have an affidavit from someone who knows how this system works and was there with the planning of it. You believe you can prove this in court?
Oh yes, we have essentially a sworn statement from a witness who knew exactly how it worked from the beginning, why it was designed to work that way, and saw when things started shutting down and they started, stopped counting the votes here, that was the same play that had worked in other countries.
Wow, this is explosive, and we certainly will continue to follow it. Sydney, thank you so much for your work. We will be catching up with you soon. Thank you so much.
That's
That was it.
That was it.
Yep.
So we have an affidavit signed from somebody who's going to supposedly be a whistleblower on the whole system. You know, I mean, whatever they show, I mean, it should be logical for everybody to understand that it's proprietary software. We don't need it. We need open software. We need 100% audits, not this whole audit that Johnny's been trying to hunt down for the 1%. It's just ridiculous. You're not going to find anything. Anyways, 100%. we got to open up the doors and fix our elections, fam.
No, you're 100% right. And I just want to close this segment with this video of Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy Pelosi said that this was the most secure election in history. And if anything, you guys, and if anything, at the very least, when Nancy Pelosi, all it should take for you to question, right, that something was up with this election is for Nancy Pelosi to say this November 3rd election was the most secure in American history, along with the entire CIA, NSA, mainstream media echoing the same statement. Do you not think that maybe, just maybe, these people who have constantly fought against any progressive movement, any progressive legislation, who have admitted in a court of law that they can rig elections, do you not think that if they're all in agreement, there might be a red flag to tell you that maybe the opposite is true, that this election is probably one of the most fraudulent, if not the most fraudulent of our time? Let's take a look at what she said real quick.
The election is over. Joe Biden is the president-elect, elected with a mandate of over 78 million votes. But don't take it from me. The Elections Infrastructure Government Coordinating Council and the Election Infrastructure Sector Coordinating Executive Committees said in their joint statement, this November 3rd election was the most secure in American history. There is no evidence that any voting system deleted or lost votes, changed votes, or was in any way compromised. It went on to say, while we know there are many unfounded claims and opportunities for misinformation and the process of our elections, we can assure you that we have the utmost confidence in the security and integrity of our elections, and you should too.
Okay, we can just cut it there. Pasta, why shouldn't we trust these institutions like CISA, right? Like these official election people who investigate the elections. Why shouldn't we trust them? Because I get thrown these little tweets like, well, look, these people said that they're specialists and they said that there's nothing here.
Yeah. Well, that's something that the Democratic loyalists keep parroting all the time. It was just like with the Joe Biden stuff. Well, people have looked into that and there's nothing there. What people have looked into what and there's nothing there? And she's lying. These NGOs that are paid off to help the military-industrial complex and the intelligence community get their narrative out there. The fact that she says there's no evidence, well, we can't even look to see what happened because we're not allowed to. It's proprietary software. So basically she's lying to you when she says there's no evidence because we're not allowed to look at the system to find evidence. And that really is a scary thing. They keep on repeating this over and over and over again. There was something else, too, I wanted to say about what she said there that was kind of disgusting. I can't even remember.
I just want to say these institutions that you guys keep throwing at me on Twitter, and it's not just the liberals doing it. It's progressives saying, oh, but they've investigated in these institutions. No, who's investigated? Who are these people? These people are literally bought by the establishment. It is the same thing as saying the 17 agencies investigated Russia and saw that there was collusion. It's the same freaking bullshit. Okay, a lot of people have been trying to frame this thing that we're calling election fraud as the Russiagate. No, the Russiagate narrative is that there was no fraud and that these agencies investigated and there was no fraud. You see, they manipulate these things to manipulate and coerce your mind because they're propagandists. They have set their CIA propagandists in these networks to lie and lie and lie until you finally believe the lie. And you have to fight against that. You have to stand strong, even if it's lonely, and really speak for the truth.
It's really just amazing to see how anybody would support these Democrats. Don't believe what you see, believe us, is their same message. Don't believe what your eyes, your ears, what you see, believe us. They're lying, we're telling the truth. Orange man bad, just get with it. You know what I'm saying? Even though we don't want to give you anything, you want Medicare for all or Green New Deal, we're not going to even give you anything, but we want you to know, orange man bad, vote for us. I mean, I can't believe the people out there are still buying into this bullshit. And here, a super chat contribution. Thank you for giving us the $2. I wish you would have gave us more. Roberta Wowzers. Accept it, blind Trump sheep. He lost. Sure, Roberta. Whatever you say. Listen to Nancy Pelosi.
We're blind Trump sheep. Yes.
Sure.
Voted for the socialists. Voted for the socialists. Voted for the socialists. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The Natural Progressive, thank you for the thumbs up. We do appreciate all your love. Anything else about this subject here, ladies and gentlemen? Should we just listen to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Adam Schiff? I heard a rumor that Adam Schiff is going to be pushed to the Speaker of the House when Nancy Pelosi leaves. I mean, really, this is how deep and dark and stupid these people are. They want to still keep pushing the people who don't represent the majority of the progressives. They represent the deep state. I mean, deep state, Adam Schiff. There wasn't a war out there that we couldn't get involved with fast enough for him, including Libya.
That goes for Joe Biden, too. So I'm going to talk about the proof that the Democratic Party has killed the progressive movement. And we just had an example right there, right? Getting called Trumpers for even just talking about this when none of us have ever been a Republican or supported the Republican Party in any way, shape, or form.
Never.
But this is what the Democratic Party has done to the progressive movement. 100%. So let's look at Bernie Sanders. You know what he said first of all, and then I'll read what I said. He said, no figure in history has done more to undermine American democracy than Donald Trump. His birther movement tried to delegitimize the Obama presidency. His refusal to accept defeat now is trying to undermine the Biden presidency. Goodbye, Trump. This sounds like it was written by a 20-year-old, and of course it likely was. But But Bernie Sanders, let's talk about the truth here, because he's literally whitewashing history. He's whitewashing American history. And if you care about racism and all this other crap, you need to understand that this country has been the way it is far before Trump, and it is in fact the reason he was elected is because we haven't dealt with these issues. Slavery and genocide from the founding presidents, Bernie, Bush wars leading to the death of 2 million plus Iraqis, Obama's drones and regime change wars, Libya, Honduras. Trump's no saint, but the devil is the systemically imperialist and racist foundation this country was built on, and it started long before him.
Heart like there. I need to like that one there. Go ahead.
Okay. And I wanted to point out somebody else's statement right here. Misty, the Russian bot, Putin's buddy. She said, "My dude." And she did not hold back. You pushed Russiagate for 4 fucking years while ignoring that your own party rigged not 1, but 2 primaries against you. Papa Squat, hypocrite. And this is like Misty really going off
there.
On this.
There we go.
Because it's true. I mean, Bernie, you believed in Russiagate for 4 years. You were cheated twice. And another thing I said that I forgot to point out is I said you were silent twice as I and others moved our literal lives to elect you in spite of the Democratic Party admitting in court, like you always say, that they can rig elections. You don't get to pretend, Bernie, that this shit doesn't exist. You really don't. You're done fighting, but we're not. We're still fighting. We're still fighting this fucking corruption here, like all the time now. And it's really sad when you see what Bernie Sanders has said. Thoughts, Pasta, Johnny?
Johnny, I'll let you go first because my only message is, and I hate to say this, is just go away at this point. Like what's been going on when he talked about the early counting, when he talked about these votes coming in late, and then you're gonna say, it's like you not only excused the cheating on you twice, but now you propped it up again, and now you're saying all this shit like people's voices shouldn't be counted. I'm sorry. Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems like he's just part of that Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Once you're just part of that Democratic Party, you got to play ball with the Democrats. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sad to see a hero fallen.
Yeah, it really is. And I have a video coming that you guys are going to watch where I literally explain who Ronald Klain is. But I just wanted to point this particular thing out right here because this section I'm talking about the fraud squad, right? Number 12, Johnny, because despite his background as an investment banker, as you will find out, a corporate lobbyist, a venture capitalist, these Democrats, including progressives, have hailed this as a victory. And this is what I mean by the Democratic Party has killed the progressive movement. We can start with Elizabeth Warren right here. Ronald Klain is a superb choice for chief of staff. He understands the magnitude of health and economic crisis. He literally voted to keep cancer medications away from cancer patients. He lobbied, and he lobbied for asbestos companies to deny them payments as well. So that, sure, Elizabeth. And he has the experience to lead this administration through it. Ron has earned the trust all across the entire Democratic Party.
You know what it reminds me of? When she supported the other establishment in, what state against Dennis Kucinich? She was just, I'm saying it's like once again, she went with the establishment pick, the lobbyist of sorts. It's just, she's shown her true colors. Yep. And, that's another one. Is that another one who's been put under the pressure, under the microscope? Yeah,
so Cenk Uygur said it's great news that Joe Biden picked Ronald Klain as his chief of staff. Other choices would have signaled an abandonment of progressives in a fighting posture. Klain is respected by all parts of the Democratic Party. So somehow now we respect the Democratic Party, Cenk, and we'll hear everyone out. Good news for the whole country.
Another guy who should just go away.
Just party loyalist.
Yeah, party loyalist. He's a hack. Why are you still watching TYT? They're literally MSNBC Light. Half of their staff is featured on mainstream media for a reason. They're not going to invite us over there because we would actually oppose them. Ilhan Omar, what a disappointment. Excellent choice. Congratulations, Ronald Klain. What a blessing to slowly be moving away from this chaos. You notice these people are using the same exact language, moving away from the chaos. This is, guys, this is literally a PR campaign. This is not anything real. And then the last one we have, of course, the Queen, Yas Queen, AOC. Pasta wore her shirt not that long ago. Good news and an encouraging choice. What the hell is good news about this? He is a venture capitalist, a lobbyist for the worst institutions, the institutions that work against us getting Medicare for all. The institutions like the Walton family. He stood on the board of Third Way, of Neera Tanden, Center for American Progress. All of these things about Ronald Klain that you guys are going to learn about in this video that I It's coming right after the show. Like, I'm telling you guys, it's disgusting that they're praising them. And this is what the progressives, what the squad is doing. They're hailing people like this. Just wait. They're going to continue hailing all of Joe Biden's cabinet picks. You know why? Because Donald Trump. Do you want that? At least we got rid of Donald Trump. So let's bring in the spooks. Let's bring in the CIA, the NSA. Hey, let's be BFF with these people.
They just want everything to return to back in the Obama days,
normal.
in the normal days. And that, if everybody asks, why did we get Donald Trump? Barack Obama. Plain and simple.
Yep.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
People were not okay with the status quo. We thought we were getting an anti-imperialist, green, non-banking, American banking. You know, we thought we were getting everything. The guy talked about starting a federal bank. He's talked about going green. He talked about ending the
not
wars.
People thought.
People, yeah. Well, a lot of people. Well, I mean, when Obama first got in, I was like, oh, wait, we're getting change. And he was more of the same.
Yeah.
He was the fracker in chief.
Yeah.
He deported more people than Donald Trump. So when Donald Trump came along, it was definitely a direct spawn of the Obama policies. And what they're trying to do is sheep herd you back into those same people, those same policies. And people are holding on to their breath. I think Bernie Sanders is going to be the labor secretary. You know, they're still holding on to that, fam. But this is ridiculous. And the fact that AOC and Ilhan Omar are propping this up, the fact that they were all silent on the ballot harvesting, which turned out to be
silent on
huge.
Assange, silent on all of this.
Whistleblowing.
Literally picking fights with Tulsi Gabbard, who's the only one that literally issued any sort of legislation that's like worth looking at. And now Ben Norton, okay? He said, this is just funny because this is what I mean by the progressive movement, like with quotes, because I don't consider them progressive. So somebody posted this picture of AOC saying fake socialism versus real socialism between AOC and Evo Morales. Okay. And so Nathan J. Robinson, who is, I think he writes for Current Affairs, has had bits in Jacobin, said both are socialist. I don't think we do ourselves any favors by saying that one of the prominent left politicians in America, who is despised by the Democratic Party elite, is a, quote, fake socialist. Evo and AOC are both important, courageous leftists. Now,
we know who Nathan Robinson is.
AOC isn't a leftist, okay? I will say that. She is a progressive in America. Progressive like that, you know, she's definitely not Nancy Pelosi, but she hasn't really opposed her, has she? Not really. Okay, so Ben Norton said, you have no idea what you're talking about. Evo Morales is a revolutionary socialist and staunch anti-imperialist who honored the anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution right before he was overthrown in a U.S.-backed military coup that milquetoast SOCDEM AOC did nothing to oppose. This is so misleading, patronizing, and false. You can't build socialism in a poor, formerly partially colonized country that wasn't able to develop itself through industrialization. That's why Bolivia's party calls itself Movement Toward Socialism. And this is something I got to point out, okay? The global South, right? A lot of people come in here and talk about socialism doesn't work. Well, why isn't it working in a lot of countries like the global South, like Bolivia and Venezuela fully? Because we don't let them. We sanction the hell out of them. We extract their resources. We bully them and because they don't want to be under our boot. And then we name Nordic countries. Oh, they have social democracies, huh? It's like, are we attacking and sanctioning Denmark, the Netherlands? No, we're not. So apart from the economic differences, you can't compare that. There's also obviously this racial element. And Johnny and I have talked about it multiple times. We cannot let these people give Medicare for all, give a single payer and all these resources in a third world country ruled by an indigenous man. America's, come on, we're just not going to allow that.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of conversations about this going forward too as well, where we have to go. Because I was talking to a friend of mine who was a Republican and was talking about he says all the time. I said, the main thing is we have all this money. Okay, money's fake, first of all, if you learn MMT, but all the money with the monetary system we have is used to go towards the military, whatnot. All I'm saying, and if you want to call it socialism, communism, whatever, I want to support labor. I want to cut that money by 3/4 and take it and bring it home. And he's like, well, that's not socialism. That's social programs. I said, okay, but that's what I mean. We're splitting hairs when we get to the isms, the socialism, the communism, the capitalisms, whatever. Let's sit down and come up with a system where we have social safety nets, where we don't have homeless people. Let's come to a system where we're not going over all around the globe telling people what to do. Let's have fair elections so that we get the populism choices we want. I'm fighting for populism more than anything because I believe at the end of the day, people don't want to see other people suffering. We don't want to see other people starving. And we want to see people helping each other and living together and loving. So whatever you want to call it call it, but don't compare AOC to Evo Morales in any way, shape, or form. AOC said she'll defer to the caucus leadership when it comes to foreign policy. She hasn't said anything, so she stinks on foreign policy.
Yep.
She said nothing about these elections, none of the elections, even when she was called out by Tulsi after Ilhan and AOC were having fun poking at Tulsi. Tulsi apologized and said, but what about ballot harvesting? Why won't you silent on that? So she doesn't care about our elections. She's a pro-censorship person. I mean, this woman is not like...
Has said zero on Assange.
Zero on Assange. Nothing. I mean, so
Yep.
let's stop comparing apples to oranges over here. AOC is the Yas queen, sheep herding people into the party that doesn't stand for anything that a lot of us true progressives stand for.
And just to finish up with Norton's tweets here, he said, being a revolutionary socialist head of state in the global south, like we were saying, like Evo Morales, is nothing like being a mild social democratic lawmaker in the murderous imperial core, especially one who doesn't in any way actually materially oppose imperialism like AOC.
She doesn't.
In fact, MSNBC's favorite celebrity leftist AOC did the opposite of oppose the U.S.-backed far-right coup against Bolivia's democracy. AOC met and posed for a photo with the right-wing imperialist who supported the coup. So, I mean, there it is again. He is pointing out these obvious discrepancies with AOC, and that to me is like the biggest thing is like she has not been great on foreign policy. She has in fact shown that she is an imperialist through her foreign policy, and that is the very definition that is not like Evo Morales. Evo Morales, we helped coup the guy. Like, come on.
Which goes on Trump's scorecard,
that goes
guys.
on Trump's scorecard.
That goes on Trump's scorecard. Out there, who people are like, oh, well, you know, it's a no. They were trying to have a fair and honest election, and we have to stop demonizing people. Like I said, everybody on the left calls everybody on the right a fascist. Everybody on the right calls everybody on the left a communist. Let's just freaking stop. Sit down and have some goddamn conversations and get some stuff that matters to all of us. You know what I'm saying? And
some of us are actually, but that's why I laugh, because it's like the Democratic Party doesn't have a single freaking socialist.
And that last picture with AOC, that's damaging. Yeah. That's damaging, ladies and gentlemen. She's standing behind the corporations that want to go in there and rape them of their lithium. We'll coup who we want to coup. That's the kind of freaking picture she's taking right now. That's what she's staying there. That's why she's so weak on foreign policy, civil liberties, and regime change wars.
And did she make a mistake? Yeah, and she should. Like, that's the thing. I expect more from my Congress people. If I know that, how do you not know that?
Exactly.
How do you not know what's going on there?
Well, she knows, fam. She knows. She knows who breads her butter, who butters her bread.
So, Simp Cedar,
great guy, love him.
posted, he said, came across this gem of Ilhan Omar speaking of her reluctance to support Batar's campaign in unseating Mama Bear. And now this is really rich, because let's read a little bit about what she said. I started on the top left corner, Johnny, and I'm just going to read a little bit, blah, blah, blah. You write affectionately about Nancy Pelosi in this book, talking about Ilhan's book. You recount, for instance, a story about how you're sleeping on an airplane and she covers you with a blanket as you slept. I was surprised by this, because in the past she has dismissed the Green New Deal as the Green Dream or whatever. She's criticized Medicare for All. She's literally applauded Trump's neocon foreign policy. She's funded his concentration camps and endless wars, and I could go on. Your colleague, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was interviewed by Glenn Greenwald of The Intercept in 2018 before she was elected, and she was asked if she would support efforts to oust Nancy Pelosi and other House leadership. She was clear and said, I think we need new leadership. Do you support the ousting of Nancy Pelosi with a more progressive leader? She says, Ilhan Omar says, we don't have an opportunity to really predict what the outcome of the next election cycle is going to be. Alexandria and myself both voted for Nancy Pelosi to be our speaker because we ultimately believed in having her as a speaker would give us the best chance in fighting this administration and holding it accountable. And it's interesting that you mentioned how I described Nancy in the book with the list of things that you mentioned about her stances. And I think it is important for us to remember those things are not indicative of how somebody would behave if somebody were sleeping next to them, blah, blah. So she's like, she's obfuscating. Yeah. And the next one is, I do think that there's a bit of tension, though. You're one of the most progressive members of Congress, and I think that if you actually want to pass a progressive agenda, at some point you need leadership that isn't actively opposed to it. And based on the policies that I mean, the Green New Deal, Medicare for All, Trump's foreign policy, concentration camps, endless wars, she supported the Patriot Act. She knew about CIA torture during the Bush administration and remained silent, and there's more. And so I'm just a little bit puzzled why you support her or why you wrote so favorably about her in the book. And she said, because in the book it's describing an instance in which I had the opportunity to be traveling with the speaker, and I'm someone who sort of knocks out when in planes. And it really stood out to me in a way that there was this exchange between the speaker and myself. You can certainly have great respect for people who might not be in agreement with you on everything in regards to policies that you can advocate for. I guess that doesn't apply to people on the right for her. Okay, so on the next, the person says, right. And she says, but there is a commonality that we can share. And there is an opportunity for us to talk about that and to celebrate those things. Again, hypocritical. Sure, but do you support the ousting of, we don't live in a world where everything is black and white? No, we don't, Ilhan. Right, I get that. But do you support the ousting of Nancy Pelosi with a more progressive leader? And she says, I do think it's important for us to fight to make sure that there is more progressive leadership in Congress. Okay. Now, will you be endorsing progressive challenger Shahid Batar, who will be facing off against Nancy Pelosi in the general election in November? If not, why not? And she says, I have not endorsed against a sitting colleague of mine. It is something I work on and try in the process of trying to really respect the work that we do together as colleagues. So it sounds like you're not willing to say that you would support Nancy Pelosi being replaced by a progressive. Oh, in leadership, you mean? Yes. No. Well, in Congress, that's for the people in her district to decide. Well, you can't tell me that you or AOC or anyone else are not endorsing candidates outside of your own district, right? We are endorsing candidates outside of our district. I haven't endorsed a challenger to any of my colleagues. So, long story short, as you guys can see, she and the squad, obviously, they refuse to endorse progressive Democrats, right, against establishment Democrats, okay? Flat out, she's saying that. Of course, AOC, in that interview with Glenn Greenwald in 2018, said something differently because she wasn't in Congress. She and Tulsi were friends. She was like, oh, I'll support your op-ed. I can't wait to work with you. Yeah. Fast forward when she comes in, nope, she completely shifts. She completely becomes Nancy Pelosi's little daughter, Nancy's mama bear. They're not fighting for progressives either. Progressives, so why do you continue to support them? Why are you repeating the same mistakes? Nip it in the bud right now. We don't need more Barack Obamas. We don't need more people like that to sheep herd people back into the Democratic Party. We don't need more liars and people who are hypocrites. They're showing you who they are. Believe them. Believe them.
That's Hillary Clinton. When they tell you who they are.
Yeah, Hillary.
Believe them.
I'm using that against you.
Hillary Clinton. And it's the truth right there. I wonder what Shahid feels now that he maybe got a hold of this. And that's something that, really bothered me. The fact that he was so aligning himself with the squad, was said, if he gets in office, those are the people more likely he can work with ideology-wise. But you can see they're not supporting you. You know what I'm saying? And these people who got through right now, I question them letting AOC get through, why they didn't fix the election. If it was Crowley, I question these things because it just seems kind of odd that all these people that we sent there to oppose the establishment have just simply joined it.
They capitulated to it, and frankly, there's no progressives coming in there. Nope. Not in my book. Nope. Not when it comes to foreign policy. Nope. Not when it comes to the security state. Nope. Not when it comes to who they're praising now and the freaking same narratives that they're spouting. That we don't have friends in D.C., guys. Sorry,
Amen.
We don't.
Dick Medhurst said you have 0 friends in D.C.
That was a great article by Current Affairs. It's Eli Massey. Have you guys heard of him before?
No, but like I said, Current Affairs is the one where the other guy also writes for. So they're a mishmash of people.
Oh, yeah, those were like good pressing questions.
That was a good pressing question. That is how you press a politician. Huh? Oh, completely. Well, it's because when I'm on a plane, I pass out. Who the fuck is talking about you passing out on a plane? That's not what we're talking
Mama Bear,
here.
Put a blanket
we're
on
talking
her.
about, will you support a progressive against Pelosi? No, she won't.
I'm willing to throw away the fact that she supported warmongering policies and everything like that. Because, she put a blanket on me, Yeah.
That sums it up. Oh, she put a blanket on me. And then why doesn't that apply, Ilhan, to people who are Republicans? Yeah. So it's okay for these warmongers who call themselves Democrat to literally just because they put a blanket on you. What if a Republican came and do that? Are you going to reject the blanket because they're a Republican? I mean, it's not consistent. You have to be consistent. If you're going to, fine, we can find commonality with people. Sure, we can. But then be consistent. It goes across party lines in general, and that's not what she's doing.
I like the way the dude laid everything out that she stands for with Donald Trump and said all these things, Are you willing to oppose her? Because those are the things you were elected to do, fight for. You mean in leadership? She trying to deflect.
Yeah.
Here's a good Rashida now.
So Rashida's another one, by the way. A lot of my Palestinian friends do not trust Rashida on when it comes to Israel-Palestine. So that's a red flag right there. So this is what she says. We're not going to watch this, but basically this commentator said maybe we can get back to normal. But what's normal? When Obama was president, I was marching for Trayvon Martin, fresh out of college. And she said she's right. It wasn't normal to kill black folks before Trump came along. And it shouldn't be now that he won't be the president. Okay, so first of all, what? So black people didn't die under an Obama presidency? Are you fucking kidding me? Flint, Michigan, literally Black Lives Matter was formed under Obama's presidency. What the hell are you talking about? Now, is the media more focused on it now? Is it happening? Were people empowered by Donald Trump's rhetoric? Absolutely, he empowered people with his rhetoric. Nobody is denying that. But the reality is you saying that black people just like insinuating that they didn't die under Obama is completely false. Not to mention the Libya. And I guess only black people in America matter as well. It's just this hypocrisy that we keep seeing over and over again from people like Rashida, this whole line like Trump bad, Trump's the devil, Trump this. Trump may be bad, but literally what you are putting in office is just as bad, if not worse. And you're pretending that is so much better. And that's not only detrimental to people everywhere, it's detrimental to yourself and to any sort of progressive legislation you want to get through.
Yeah. And this next part, when you talk about the people they're bringing in, but it's so funny because the transition team, we didn't talk about it when we played the Sidney Powell. A guy who sits on the board member of Smartmatic is in the transition team of Joe Biden. Yep. Guess who else is part of the team that Joe Biden's bringing on? Here goes another one.
So this one really gets to me, right? Especially as an immigrant. Cecilia Munoz, who defended family separations under Barack Obama, has joined the Biden transition team, okay? And like I said, I'm going to be going over all of these people. But Cecilia Munoz said, this is what she said. Well, first of all, during her time in the White House, she justified Obama's harsh immigration enforcement policies, including the deportations of thousands of Central American children and its decision to kill an executive order that would have halted these deportations, by the way. And she was interviewed in 2011, and she said, at the end of the day, when you have an immigration law that's broken and you have a community of 10 million, 11 million people living and working in the United States illegally, some of these things are going to happen, even if the law is executed with perfection. There will be parents separated from their children. We don't have to like it, but it is a result of having a broken system of laws. And the answer to that problem is reforming the law. And again, so she was completely supportive, justifying these actions. Why didn't you hear about Barack Obama having the highest deportations of any president in the world? Why didn't you hear about him and his administration building these cages? Why didn't you hear about his administration having Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, not just Libya, but we're talking about Honduras, causing the civil unrest in these countries, causing the migration into the United States? Why didn't you hear about that? Oh, because the mainstream media wasn't exposing Obama at every turn, just like they're exposing Donald Trump. That's the thing. That's why you didn't hear about it. People didn't know. I talked to one of my friends the other day. She was like, I had no idea, like, that this was even true. Oh my God. Like, and this is, people didn't know because the media didn't want you to know. And so the reality is, when these people were fucking like saying, oh, you don't care about the children, you don't care about the kids in cages, I'm doing this for the children, I'm doing this for my people of color, for all these people. No, you're not. You're doing this to feel better about yourself, because you didn't fucking know that Obama did the same exact thing, and now you want to sort of put like a nice little bow on it and wrap it up in a box and put it away. And that's why you did it. You did it for yourself, not because it made any difference. Joe Biden is part of the administration that caused so many people now to come into this country, their countries destroyed because of our foreign policy, and nobody gives a fuck about that on the left. And I'm just so sick and tired of them using this card, especially as an immigrant to this country. I'm so fucking done with it.
That's a fee rant. And the reason why it's not talked about, too, is it's the posters we have. We have them hanging up. The big sleep. Everybody went to sleep when Obama became the president and stuff. You know, there was even a place, you know, where you couldn't attack him, because if you did attack him, you were looked upon as racist. You know what I'm saying? Especially like...
And that happened, too.
It happened to me, because at first I loved Obama. You know, Kucinich and Gravel were my first two choices. After they went away, I supported Obama. I went and saw him speak. I cried hearing him speak. I believed in him, and he just lied to us in every step of the way. But when I tried to criticize him, all of a sudden the attacks I got, and big up to, right there it is, the Zago brothers and Lucio. You know what I'm saying? That's the work right here. Now, what you don't see is in that darkness behind Obama's right shoulders in the back, we have Johnny, Fiorella, all the election integrity activists who were just hiding. We didn't go to sleep. We were just working in the darks the whole time. And now we're here and we're going to expose this shit. But this is true right here. When Obama became president, everybody went to brunch. Everybody went to sleep. Occupy, Standing Rock, prison reform, all these people, they went to sleep. And the fact that this stuff is rising up to the top and seeing Biden putting all these same characters back in place, it's beyond alarming.
Yeah, and I just want to say that the people, people went to sleep, but it was also the fact that Obama was a black president and he did receive a lot of racism from the right. That is undeniable. Nobody's going to deny that. But it was in fact that has caused more of that racism because Obama was the black imperialist Fred Hampton warned us about. And so if Obama hadn't been an imperialist, you wouldn't see all of these people coming with this hatred towards this guy. Yes, there is some racism in there, but it is that racism is also underlying the fact that he was an imperialist. He screwed a lot of people, a lot of working class white people, like literally lost everything, okay, along with all working class people in general. And that was due to these neoliberal policies that had been pushed since Reagan and before. And that's just a result of that. And now we have progressives shouting, "Oh, yay, we're this is great. We're removing the chaos. This is great." No, this is going back to the very same conditions that elected Donald Trump, and you are uplifting it. And if you are doing that, you are no friend, you are no ally, you are no progressive, period.
And I just want to say that they made it a blanket attack. In other words, there were people who were attacking racially, but there were some people who were being just objectively attacking him, saying Michael Tracy with Maxine Waters, when he caught her out there saying, what about the foreign policies of Obama and whatnot? And she's like, I don't want to talk to another Obama hater, blah, 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 blah. And she kind of lumped him in with his foreign policy questions with people who were attacking him on the birther movement, whatnot, and everything else,
And that's what Bernie said. I mean, he's just putting this blanket statement, the birther movement. Yeah, sure, that's true. But what else was going on that you're not mentioning?
Yeah. Comrade Misty Putin.
Yeah, I had to feature her again, and this is just something
She's
that
on fire, this girl.
People, absolutely. These people are Biden's putting these people in the administration, right? Tax filings reveal that Biden's cancer charity spent millions on salaries and zero on research. And of course, you guys can look into that as well. I'm not going to spend much time on it right now, but these are the people that Joe Biden is putting in his administration. And to me, the biggest, most scary thing right now is the encroaching censorship that we have. Of course, the New York Post. Why are you using the New York Post, Fiorella? Blah, 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 blah. Because again, New York Times, Washington Post, all these people, they're not talking about this stuff at all. You cannot even hear it. They censored the New York Post on Twitter. Did you guys forget to protect Joe Biden? So here it is. Joe Biden's transition official wrote an op-ed advocating free speech restrictions. This should send alarms and bells because this is going against anything that any sort of Assange person might want. Anything against media, journalists. We're all going to be censored. We're seeing it right now. You should take a look at what YouTube is pulling out right now. But the transition team leader for U.S.-owned media outlets wants to redefine freedom of speech and make it, quote, hate speech a crime. Richard Stengel, and this guy, like I said, I'm going to go over who this guy is the Biden transition, quote, team lead for the U.S. Agency for Global Media, the U.S. government media empire that includes Voice of America, the Middle East Broadcasting Networks. I'm sure that they're very accurate. And Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. Stengel, an Obama administration alumnus, wrote last year in a Washington Post op-ed, of course, that the U.S. freedom of speech was too unfettered and that changes must be considered. He said, all speech is not equal, and where truth cannot drive out lies, we must add new guardrails. I'm all for protecting the thought that we hate, but not speech that incites hate. And so Stengel offered two examples of the speech that he had an issue with, Quran burning and the circulation of, quote, false narratives by Russia during the 2016 campaign. And he said, even the most sophisticated Arab diplomats that I dealt with did not understand why the First Amendment allows someone to burn a Quran. Why, they asked me, would you ever want to protect that? Stengel wrote. So again, he just goes on to outline why, blah, blah, blah. And he also worked as a paid MSNBC contributor. And he literally left, of course, to work in the Joe Biden team. So just so you guys know, these are the people that Joe Biden is putting in his cabinet. And like I said, we're going to go into it more. But it is absolutely scary that people are saying we voted out fascism. No, you guys just literally just replaced one form of it with another. And this one is even worse because it's cryptic and it sneaks up on you and people think they're fine and they're not. And the last thing I just want to read.
Can I say something though, too? It's also just, it also, once again, you can see what they're doing as far as they're playing on the progressives' emotions, their feelings.
Yep.
They're using that like, hey, we're trying to stop hate speech. And you're like, yeah, we should stop that. But when you do that and you give them the keys to the kingdom and you give them permission to start censoring everything, then all of a sudden you become a real fascist state. And that's what they're doing right here. So this whole thought process that you're getting rid of, exactly, 1984, you're getting rid of fascism by implementing more fascism. And you could just look at the numbers. You know, Silicon Valley and big tech, they gave Biden 16 million. They gave Trump less than $1 million. Okay, that area alone for me and everything they were doing with the censorship for the New York Post and everything going on, it's just a red flag. And ladies and gentlemen, you have to wake up to freedom of speech. And this, fam, this tweet you got right here should be the tweet of the century right here. Especially the last sentence was like one of those, whoa, fall off the seats. Go ahead, girl.
I was just going to say progressives are so busy hating Trumpers that they fail to realize they're both being screwed by the system. And instead of going after the oligarchy, they focus on attacking powerless and ignorant people. It took one election cycle for Democrats to turn progressives into liberals. And I firmly believe this, that the Democratic Party has succeeded in turning a lot of progressives into liberals. We saw the whole squad. I just outlined it for you. And apart with the squad are the people who follow them and Bernie without any sort of cognitive difference and being able to look at nuance and being able to look at things. I will always, like I said, and I've said many times, be thankful to Bernie for showing us and shedding the light and for really bringing about even this discussion and bringing about the progressive movement. That is something that I will never criticize Bernie for. I will always hail him for that particular issue. But I'm no disciple. I'm no sycophant. I will criticize him when he is wrong. I will criticize progressives when they are wrong. And the reality is too many people are not doing that because they want to believe in this fantasy that we're succeeding, and that's not the case.
By the way, super chat contribution, Miller Saint says sad even. Thank you. Go ahead, Johnny.
So fam, so what separates us from those people? You know, like what is it? So it's like we don't look, we're not party loyalists, right?
Right.
We criticize both Democrats and Republicans. What else is there?
Well, for us, I think for what we do is we follow the truth no matter what. Like, so if the truth is that progressives are lying, we're going to say it. If the truth is Republicans are lying, we're going to say it. If the truth is that the Democrats are lying, we're going to say it. It doesn't matter what ideology you belong to because we follow the truth. And the truth has no ideological preference. The truth is the truth no matter what. And so that's the difference. And it's very, very hard to do that. People always say, well, we want independent media. We want non-biased media. But they don't. Most people want people who think like them. Most people want bias. Exactly. And so when you're not, and you have people coming from both sides attacking you, you realize that this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what real media would be doing. We would be having a discussion of ideas and ideologies. I don't agree with everything Pasta says, and he sure doesn't agree with everything I say. But that's the thing. We are able to have this discussion and have and put it out there for people to see. This is why a lot of our followers are not necessarily always on the ultra left, and they're definitely not on the ultra right. And so we have a lot of independent thinkers who follow us. And the thing is, you have to be independent in your thought. You cannot just simply be ideology or party over truth. You have to be truth over everything else.
To easily say it, Johnny, really quick, we base our opinions on what is said. When it comes to the progressives, they base their opinions on who says it. You know what I'm saying? Whoever says, you always say, oh, that's really Giuliani. You can't say anything, you trust anything he says. Oh, that's this person, Steve Bannon. You can't trust anything he says. Oh, that's Donald Trump. You can't trust anything he said. So they base their opinions and they follow based upon who says it, which is very tribalish. We base our opinions and our ideology on what is said. The words, balls and strikes. We say it all the time. You can't be hypocritical. You have to call the pitch for what it is. If it's out of the strike zone, it's a ball. You can't say it's a strike just because it was said by the left, especially with Bernie Sanders saying all this shit right now. We're deciphering right now. That's a progressive who moved us in this way, which he talked about it. But what he is saying, what is said, is what has to be taken to task. Yep. Not who says it. There's so many people who are going to believe just what Bernie says because it's Bernie Sanders.
Right.
You can't do that. So you have to base your ideology on what is said, not who says it.
And you're deifying these people when you shouldn't be deifying them. You're like, you know, like that's not what you should be doing.
Yeah. And Red Sea Socialist, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Love this guy. You don't notice the fascism unless you're trying to fight against it.
Yep.
So that's the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Thank
You're not
you.
going to notice it because unless you're actively saying, no, you shouldn't censor stuff. It can't be your voice over everybody else's voice. You don't get to decide what is right or wrong. That's for the American people. But they keep on moving the goalposts, and they kind of change the definition of what hate speech is so they can just silence people and put their narrative out there.
And trust me, I would love to censor like certain people because they're wrong and they're awful. People like Vosh, and it's like, well, Vosh shouldn't have a platform. Well, if I censor him, guess who else is going to get censored? We are. Yeah. So as much as I don't like that guy, I'm sorry. He's got a platform to say what he has to say, and that's how I feel about it.
Yep. Well, let's get to our back door, our yard, our hood, and let's talk about what's going on in LA. Johnny's been doing some great work over there. We kind of followed this system from the get-go. We followed the primaries. So, Johnny, take it away.
So, I had just posted my Medium article. I wrote a Medium article. It says, lack of transparency in LA elections, the 1% manual tally, and white vans. If you've been on my Twitter, you've seen a bunch of these tweets coming off. And basically, you can go to the Medium article. I'll put it in the chat, and you can read it.
Do.
But basically, for those who don't know, the LARCC, which is the Los Angeles County Registrar Recorder Office, is required to perform a 1% manual tally, and according to California Election Code 15360. And then to broadly outline it, it just consists of staff hand counting ballots from a few batches, and they compare that manual tally from their hand counted tally to the machine generated tally. Now, I went on the 6th, and then I also went on the 7th. On the 7th is when Maria and Angelica were there. They were actually there on the 6th as well. But again, it was delayed. It was supposed to happen on the 5th, this 1% manual tally. They put out a press release that said it was going to happen on the 5th, no later than the 6th. But then and here we are on the 7th at 8 a.m., and it still hadn't happened. So you can watch this. I mean, we can... Here with Angelica Duenas, who is the candidate for Congress in District
29. That's right. We were here yesterday. We were here to witness the 1% manual tally of the vote by mail, actually, is what we were hoping to catch yesterday. They let us know that they were not ready, that the tally sheets were not ready to go, and that more than likely it was going to start today. And then after asking questions, if they were sure it wasn't going to start any earlier than that, they did let us know that it might be starting yesterday afternoon, in which a couple of folks came back to check in on that. And at 2 o'clock yesterday, and shortly after that, they were informed that, in fact, it was not going to be happening yesterday after all, that it was going to be broken up into about 3 days. So today, tomorrow, and Monday. Today and tomorrow, we'll be able to witness the tally for the in-person voting, and then on Monday, vote by mail.
We also have Maria Estrada here, so I'm going to get her opinion, because she just went up there and then came back down and said that...
They weren't ready yet. They didn't have the tally sheets out yet, and they weren't ready to start.
All right, so I'm here with Maria Estrada, who was running for State Assembly in District
63.
So Maria was the first one to go. What happened?
So there's actually 3 rooms. 2 of the rooms are not ready yet, and the room that we went into actually, they're actually just attaching the precinct sheets together, and they have like stacks of them, so they're not going to be ready for a little while. This was actually supposed to occur yesterday, so I'm not sure why they're still not ready, but they're not going to be ready for a little bit, and they're only allowing one person in for 30 minutes at a time max.
So that's very strange. We've seen that it's been yesterday morning they were supposed to be ready, and then they said 2 p.m., and then they weren't ready. I was here for that. And then now we're here at 8 a.m. in the morning, and they're still not ready. So what does that tell you?
Well, I could tell you that I don't believe that they're accustomed to people actually watching this. They're not used to actually it being overseen by the public, and they usually do things willy-nilly. So I think now that they know that we're watching, they're trying to be more careful and go through the process properly. Interesting. So did they give you a time when they would be ready or no? No, and they really didn't know.
Well, typical Democratic Party here in California. We know this.
But we don't know if the registrar is Democratic or not. I would assume. I don't know.
I mean, well, with the people who are in power, Alex Padilla, Dean Logan.
Alex Padilla.
And
who's Secretary of State, who certifies
Yeah.
the elections and certifies the election systems.
Openly
He's Democratic.
Joe Biden openly supported
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton.
And
Yep.
is in full support of Dean Logan.
Yep. Can I say something too here, ladies and gentlemen? This is the important part, Johnny. I'm glad you're staying on top of this, like a stink on shit, because this is important, because this is the thing we started crying about. If they can fix the election for Joe Biden against Donald Trump, just think about every single progressive below them that is trying to fight to get on the ballot. This is what it's all about. This is why we started fighting for election integrity. It was the Tim Canova situation, not just Bernie in the primary, but all these other people like Maria Estrada, Angelica Duenas,
Yep.
Even the Republicans that are now kind of coming to the game, and Joe Collins and James Bradley, who are running against Ted Lieu, and Maxine Waters are running against the establishment. They're populist-minded people, even on the right. You know what I'm saying? We need to have fair elections. If they can cheat everybody above, and you allow it, you're giving them a permission slip, ladies and gentlemen. We have to fight for elections across the board, because if we fight for elections across the board, in our republic, we will get the democratic representation that we put in there. If we don't get the democratic representation that the populists want, we'll never get anything. We'll never get a goddamn thing. It's no wonder that Medicare for all might be 70% of the people want it, but we don't have it. It might be that 70% of the people want to fight for some type of climate control, but we don't have it. We're still allowed to frack like crazy what's going on. But if we don't fix our elections, nothing is possible. We'll still just be stuck in the elites' decisions, and they'll maintain control on the lower level as well.
So just to continue on with the story that I was doing here, it was, they told us that they were setting up and didn't give a time to when they would be ready. So I was there and I just interviewed them. So then I asked if I can go upstairs to watch them set up. And so while I was waiting for them to get the head election official, Elva R. Gomez, I was waiting outside, and a white van just rolled up to the front of the LARCC office, and
white vans.
I distinctly heard one of the two drivers. He came up, he walked up. I'm just waiting outside there, like right where I'm filming. Like that's exactly on the steps, like outside of the door. And he says, I overheard him say clearly, "We're here to pick up some ballots for Pomona." And so I asked here on Twitter, do you have an official statement on what this van is transporting to the VBM processing facility? I've emailed them questions. I've called Mike Sanchez. I've called Jeff Klein. I've reached out. I put down the written comment in the office, so no one can tell me that I didn't try communicating with them. I've tried. It's been a few days already, and this is from the 7th, and
you want to play it?
I've been trying to. Yeah. So this is the white van that just rolled.
Today is November 7th, 2020, and we are at the LARCC Norwalk office. They said they were picking up ballots for Pomona, whatever that means. So that's interesting. I clearly heard one of the drivers come up to the front office and say that he's here to pick up ballots for Pomona. Now, the only ballots that go to Pomona are vote by mail ballots. So that's why in Pomona, that's where the vote by mail processing center is located. So I decided to drive over to Pomona. I'm actually inside the facility seeing this van pull in. This video was actually given to me by an anonymous source, and we can verify there with the license plate that's the same van, and they are opening up the back. And I want y'all to remember one thing, is that the driver said that they were there to pick up ballots for Pomona. And so now they're pulling out these white boxes. And so you can see them right here. Those are the boxes, white boxes that typically holds ballots. And now we're not sure if these are actually ballots, but the question remains is that I've had multiple officials tell me that the only ballots going to the Norwalk office are provisional ballots. And if there are any ballots leaving the Norwalk office, they'd be going to Downey, not to Pomona. So I didn't understand why this van went from Norwalk to Pomona. Why did the van go to Norwalk and then go to Pomona? That is the question. And I've contacted officials and I've not heard a response back about this. So I've decided to release the video and see if they will respond to it. The driver said they were ballots. We don't know if they are ballots. They're in the same ballot boxes that all the ballots go through. So really, we just want answers to these questions. And, you know, I will update this if I do get any.
Playing games, Johnny.
If I do get any answers. But basically, it's not transparent at all. And, like, I walked in there, and I was in the facility. This is how I got that shot inside.
Mm-hmm.
I walk in there, and the supervisor there at the time was just kind of like he wasn't happy to see me there.
Yeah.
Same
Just
dude?
showed up. Yeah.
Same dude.
Yeah. And I tried asking him questions about, you know, everything going on. Just, you know, kind of broad questions to kind of, you know, not give anything away. But he didn't want to be on camera, so I didn't write the questions down and the answers down. But it wasn't anything that was relevant to what I was seeing here. So he denied that they were getting any ballots that day. You know what I'm saying? So
He denied it?
pretty sure he denied it. It was just,
Glory Jones says Johnny's low voice and intense dark music really adds to the atmosphere. But I mean, listen, wait 1 second, Johnny. We went to this facility. This is a facility where ballots came into, were processed with the AI machines that Fiorella talked about, the story of Whitney Webb, which it didn't look like there was any scrutiny whatsoever, and they leave this facility. So why in the world are ballots going from where they're supposed to go to back to the... this is very, very questioning.
No, the question is that the only ballots that go to Norwalk, which is
Mhm.
where this van came from, are like provisional
ballots, yes.
And I asked him, I've asked multiple officials, do any other ballots come to Norwalk? No.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So then what's going from Norwalk to the
Pomona.
vote by mail facility?
Yeah.
Are they sending over vote by mail ballots? Which vote by mail ballots are they sending? How did these vote by mail ballots get received, and where are they from?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So
it's questions. I mean, that's the thing. If there's no transparency, they can do whatever they want. You better believe they're fooling around and keeping their California establishment goons in place while they screw out progressive candidates that have a chance to win. You better believe they'll be tinkering it, because that's what they do. When you don't have any eyes on you and you can do what the hell you want, you can get whatever results for an election they can give you. It's just ridiculous.
Well, that's why I've been going every day and putting eyes on everything. You know what I'm saying? Showing up and everything like that. So for those unfamiliar, that's where the vote by mail operation is happening, located. The video of myself and Pasta, you can click there in the article. I immediately thought it was strange that they were picking up ballots, because in the March 3rd primary, Pasta, we found out that the vote by mail ballots are not sent directly to Norwalk.
Exactly.
They're sent to an ambiguous P.O. box and then delivered. We don't know how it's delivered to wherever the vote by mail processing is taking place.
Yep.
So in the primaries, the vote by mail processing was located in the Norwalk office. I had that confirmed by Jeff, I believe, and is now located in Pomona for space / COVID reasons.
COVID reasons.
Yeah.
Yep. This is how they use COVID to hide their shit.
Remember that, Johnny, when we called them, like, wait a second, it's not going right to the Norwalk facility? And then we started saying, wait, do you guys print the ballots from the Norwalk facility? Wait, you're using we were just starting to go down the rabbit hole, question after question, showing up in front of these guys' faces. Hey, I know you're going to, like the little, when you questioned them at Howard's house for that whole thing. And that's where we questioned the open source. We questioned the whole, voting centers. Like, we've been on top of this stuff. Like I said, we're election integrity activists. We follow this stuff. We study this stuff. And everything that Johnny's laying out for you right now, I mean, you can't get this information anywhere. Are the mainstream media on this, Johnny?
No.
All right, so yeah, my bad. Did you see some MSNBC? Do you guys bumping each other to get the better shot?
All these mainstream media platforms that have millions of dollars and resources galore. Anyways. Okay, so that video, I went over there after I went up. So I was let into the 1% manual tally room to see their setup, because they weren't doing it yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they would start the manual tally once they were done preparing these manual tally sheets. They're like, I wish I could take a picture of it, but I wasn't allowed to take pictures. Basically, it's just like a long sheet, and it tells you, it has the races on there, and it has little boxes, and people, tally it off. The two people to a table, and then a third person reads out whatever the answer was. So I was told by Gomez that they probably wouldn't be ready to perform the 1% manual tally until Monday. That's what she told me that day. I later found out that the 1% manual tally started that same day after I had left.
Of course.
But she was telling me Monday.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they didn't want you in there.
I heard him say that.
Yeah.
They're doing the count now. I was like, oh shit! Like I thought you were gonna go running out of the room in your pajamas on.
No,
See, guys, if they had nothing to hide, they wouldn't be fighting progressives so hard and journalists so hard in trying to keep this transparency out. Like, hello, this is happening. If this is happening in California, which is one of the the most powerful states, the fifth largest economy, most supposedly progressive, why would you think that it's not happening at a national level?
Yeah. And they know who Johnny is. They know who we are. They know they see us in our sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially Johnny. They see
sleep.
Johnny's face. They're like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're
We
going to
live
say, hey, we're
rent-free
going
in
to do
their
it on
heads.
Monday. And as soon as he leaves, start that shit now. He's not here.
Yep.
We can't, like, they know the independent media that's on them right now.
Yep.
We've been freaking
it's
trolling
weird.
these
It's
guys.
weird that happened. It's really weird that
It's
happened.
not weird at all. It's not weird at all. As
Like-
soon as you leave, then they start the process.
If you look at it from if you have faith in the election system, then why would they start it on the same day that I left? Angelica notified me that she was let in to watch the 1% mayor tally at 11:15 on November 7th, and they had already begun the process before that time.
Yeah.
So after asking a few questions, so I was still up there. I asked a few questions. I asked to see the other two rooms. So there's 3 rooms in this 5th floor. And these two other rooms had just 12 staff each, just sitting and waiting. They were literally just sitting on their phones and waiting. And I asked Gomez why they weren't just sitting and organizing sheets like the first room. She said that yesterday they had problems with the printer and they were not able to print out the sheets for them to work on. I also asked if they were permanent staff, and I was notified that they were temporary employees.
Yeah, all of them are.
So I have a little comment here. I'm like, why is the LARCC using public money to hire employees to sit at standby for a state-mandated certification process that had been delayed several times before that day? Like, these are valid questions. Are they not?
Absolutely.
Are these,
Absolutely.
Like, am I crazy now?
No, we were asking all these the questions too. Like, are these temporary employees? What's going on? What are you wasting the money?
They're all temporary.
Wow.
For a reason.
By the way, fam, Gloria Jones put a super chat up, and it says for Johnny Streets, kicking ass and doing the dirty work while all these punk asses in the alleged hashtag, not hashtag, but quotes, indie media want to pose like they've put in the work.
Yeah.
Right. Not mentioning it.
Not mentioning it.
Sorry.
After the tour of the 1% mail tally rooms, I was again notified that it would probably occur. It wouldn't occur that day. It would occur Monday was the best bet. And I asked about the next day, which was Sunday, the 8th, and I was told, yeah, you can try on Sunday. So as I was being escorted out the rooms, I saw the white van being loaded up, and I asked Gomez if she knew anything about those white vans, to which she shook her head no, and said sometimes they pick up and transfer office materials. So
staplers, Post-its, pencils.
That's the thing too. They play stupid all the time. Remember, we asked them, dude, are these employees part-time here? Is there a route? Did they sign something? Well, we just know, they can go stop and have Carl's Jr. and smoke a blunt when they leave with ballots, which is the most sacred thing. It's like they play dumb all the time.
Or they just don't tell you. They're like, we have to, this is confidential.
Or they're like, email us, and then
and they
been
never
a few
get
days,
back to
and I
you.
still haven't heard
That was
anything
Jeff Klein's famous words. I don't know the answer to that. Let me give you my card and get back to you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never do it.
Got anything else?
Yeah. I left Norwalk, went to go to the Pomona facility to see if I could catch up. You saw that video.
Mm-hmm.
When I arrived there, I was checking with staff. I already told all this. I asked them if they were still processing vote-by-mail ballots, which he said we're only doing a couple operations to get these last vote-by-mail ballots out, which was weird because supposedly this is running until at least the 20th, which is 17 days after November. It could possibly run depending on if there are more vote-by-mail ballots, right?
Yep.
So I don't know. I have to go back there at some point.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
They extended the time, Johnny, in your opinion, to not to cheat for Biden, but to cheat for who? Or to lean on who? Why would they want extra days? Why would the legislation give us 17 extra friggin' days to do this? What are they doing in the extra 17 days? I mean, I'm trying to understand their motive on this one.
So I guess the trust into the election process point of view would tell you that, there was a lot of more vote-by-mail ballots, so we need time to process that, right? But what the kind of asking more questions, edgy opinion would probably say is that maybe they're trying to they're trying to take some votes away from local candidates, progressive candidates like Angelica Duenas, Maria Estrada.
Or stuff the ballot box for the ones they want to beat them, maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, so a little bit more. I just, went there for a little bit. I just got a little overview shot. And then they had a little press release that kind of explains some of the answers, like the 17 days after. There was a whole scandal with the drop boxes. There was a viral video that Trump retweeted about the LA County drop boxes, and I'm not saying anything about that. I just have transparency in our elections is something that should be commonplace and information easily accessible, and if it is not, it should be demanded by the people to ensure our democracy is still functioning as was set out by our founding fathers. I went back the next day at 8 a.m., and Elva Gomez was again the staffer who I was greeted with and allowed me into the 1% manual tally room. So after 3 days of attempts, I would finally be able to see the 1% manual tally process in action. And here's a brief summary of how it goes. Manual tally sheets are organized from a big printout pile of the sheets. There are 3 workers at a table. One reads out the ballot. The other 2 mark on their respective tally sheets. They check their numbers with the machine-generated tally report. They repeat this process until the ballot box is done. At the end, we are notified how off the machine-generated tally was from the manual tally. And that sounds great, except the machine-generated tally report was not ready that day when they started.
Yeah, ridiculous.
The next day. So here, Angelica Duenas verified to me that she was escorted to see the 1% manual tally on November 8th, and Gomez confirmed that the machine-generated tally report was not ready.
So what they're saying is that the computer-generated results may or may not be processed yet. So they have 12 batches that they're manually tallying and comparing.
The batches are the boxes, right? It's a white box.
Are the boxes, and what they're saying is that these batches may not be. The computer part of it, the generating part of it may not be processed yet. So my question is well, what are you comparing to?
Yeah.
What are you comparing? You're just counting votes manually, but then what? You know what I mean? These need to be compared to something, because at this point, what I'm trying to explain to them is this leaves the door open for election tampering, where they can just say that the computer said the same thing. So unless you have it printed and it's sitting somewhere.
Okay, so that's interesting. I didn't know that. So you're saying the tally report is not printed out yet. They're having issues printing it out?
They're saying is what Letitia and Alba confirmed is that the computer generating results may or may not be done. So they're saying that this tallying process happens in Downey, and that information is not here. They don't have access to that information, and so they can't tell us what even the computer-generated results of these different batches are, because they don't have it.
So, what the fuck? What? Okay. So do you understand? So maybe people don't understand. So they can do the whole manual tally. They can wait until it's completely done, and then they can put whatever numbers on the computer generated one. And we have no idea, because we have no idea who prints it, / where it comes from, / when it's already done. You know what I'm saying?
In theory, yes. That's what I'm trying to let them know, is that what's happening here is that you're leaving the door open for election tampering, because if you don't have the results already printed and sitting somewhere, what you can claim is that the manual tally matched the computer-generated tally look, and then you just...
Yeah, well, that's what happened. This is the thing that Ray Lutz pointed out. Ray Lutz is a guy who has a system that kind of counts as the pictures of the ballots. You know what I'm saying? But what he was talking about last time, he made us think about this, is that they're supposed to produce. This is the computer numbers for the 1% batch we're going to give you. So you got the computer numbers up. Now this is what it is. Then you do the count and you say, does it match up? What they're trying to do is say, okay, you guys do the count first, and then we'll match up with the computer after. What that is a bunch of malarkey, because now they say, all right, this is your count. They can just go into the computer, pull out any numbers, and say, oh yeah, it matches up. They're really trying to pull some crap over here and do things so just sinisterly. It's disgusting.
Nefarious.
It's nefarious. It's disgusting. It's corruption. It's rigging. You are supposed to produce. This is what the 1% block has right here. This is the numbers from the computer. Count it. Make sure it matches.
And that's just
the way
the
an audit is supposed to be
1%.
done. That's how an audit is supposed to be done.
And it's
They're
just 1%.
trying to do it backwards.
They can't even do. We can't even
Zero
have transparency
accountability.
with a 1%
In
audit.
LA.
Not even a 1%
Not
audit.
even 1%.
And you think your elections are fair and democratic?
And I reiterate in my article, that this is the largest county in America.
Yep.
And the 5th largest economy in the world.
Yep.
And we can't have this transparency. Like,
it's terrible.
Come on, get out of here. So I say, why was the 1% manual hand count moving forward when the machine-generated tally report was not ready? This could lead to major fraud by corrupt players if the 1% manual tally finishes and then is compared to a freshly printed and doctored machine-generated tally report. Which is what Angelica reiterates below. She speaks some real fire. So we gotta listen to this. Oh no!
It's ridiculous. What are they comparing? They're just counting paper at this point, because they're not comparing anything. They're counting paper. They're counting physical, manifestations of what people voted on the computer, right? So there's the printout, but they have no other set of data to compare it to. So what's 1% tally, manual tally, is to compare it to the computer generated results to make sure that there's no discrepancy.
Exactly.
But there is no printout of the computer generated results.
Okay, so when's the printout coming? Hold on. Elva, can I ask a quick question? Do you have a timeline for when the printout for the why not? You don't want to be transparent? All right. Okay, I understand. Is that for Mike? Okay, I'll call Mike. Thank you. So they don't have a timeline, and Elva doesn't want to go on camera to tell me that there's a timeline for when the computer-generated tally report will come out. So right now they're counting the manual tally. When the computer-generated manual tally, which is it's like instantaneous. How is it not available? How is it not available? This is delayed. November 5th? It is now the 8th. It is 3 days. Angelica, this was supposed to happen 3 days ago. It was supposed to happen on the 5th, right? That was when it was scheduled to happen, the 1% manual tally.
5th or the 6th, I do know that. Either way, here we are the 8th, and it still hasn't happened properly. Well, we need to have the printout. Where's the printout? We need the printout to compare the results. And they're just giving us the runaround. They keep on asking me, when you say compare the results, what exactly? It's like, what do you mean? What exactly do I mean? I mean comparing the computer generated results, which are the ones that you are reporting, right? That's the data that we are being given, right, at the public, matching the manual tally. That's what I mean by compare. It's like, what else could I mean by compare? They're just giving me the runaround. It's just crazy. It's like,
wow, it's disgusting.
Where are the progressives at?
Yeah.
Where are they at? Where's the outrage? Where's the roaring? Where's the upset? Where's putting your foot down and saying we want to get our progressives in there? I mean, this is like huge right over here. That woman that you're speaking to, Johnny, right? And I think our audience knows what she means and who she's running against. What that means to the security state, what that means for censorship, what that means for the military-industrial complex. Removing a establishment stooge like Tony Cardenas is so big, and she stands for all the issues that all those progressives want. Yeah. Going out there and fighting for a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, interdistrict for poor people, immigration control, all this stuff. This woman is there. Where are the people at? Why aren't they there?
And not just there, at the anti-war protest.
At the she's even likes the stuff we like.
What's the point of supporting progressives in the Democratic Party if you don't even support them when they're not getting the votes, when your vote doesn't count? Exactly. It doesn't matter. Fine, prop up whoever you want to prop up, but it doesn't matter how many times you support them and all this time wasted knocking on doors and all this fucking bullshit. If at the end of the day they're going to throw away their votes, or at the very least we're not even going to have any kind of transparency. Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah, so I mean, this video, I really just wanted to show how not the lack of transparency there, right? I mean, there's just a huge lack of transparency. I mean, that our questions could be easily quelled. Oh, they could just communicate, talk to us. No, it's send an email, write a comment down.
Yeah, they don't want you to know.
Okay,
they don't want you to know. They want you
so,
shut out. Go back to work, pleb. Don't question us.
Pretty much. And, the answers to these questions remain murky. The ambiguity surrounding the late start, the fact that a pivotal piece of the 1% manual tally is missing from the public's viewing. And I've gone before, after this time. I went yesterday and the day before that. Still can't see it. Still, turn in a paper thing, email us, call us, and we can get back to you. Email. So
it's so cute.
It's part of the fucking 1% manual tally.
So cute.
How can I not see it?
I know. Count first, and we'll give you the numbers after, Johnny. That's just what they're telling you. How fraudulent could that be?
It's ridiculous, Pasta. It's ridiculous, and so. It's missing from the public's viewing. The publicly paid election officials avoiding the camera puts into question the fair and accessible and transparent manner that the LARCC boasts that they have, because they don't have that. The ambiguity surrounding the state-mandated certification process does the public no favors in a time of outrageous claims of voter fraud and concerning claims of election fraud. So I'm no Trump supporter. I'm a lefty. And it's not a right-wing thing to question the elections. I'm providing evidence here of the lack of transparency.
First-hand accounts.
And fucking from candidates, from Angelica Duenas and Maria Estrada, who are candidates that won their primaries.
Who ran on the left and under the Democratic Party ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no justification for this. And the fact that people are dismissing all of election integrity just because the right has suddenly jumped into defending the elections is really, to me, a sadness in America. We should be weeping and crying, because that, to me, is just how far we've gone off the rails here, where we've polarized and we have made politicized an issue that is non-political. This issue is across the board. It is an American issue. It is an issue if you care about democracy, if you care about preserving any sort of semblance of it. This is what people should be talking about, not scoffing and dismissing it and saying, oh, it's just a right-wing talking point, you're a Trumper. No, you're a fucking fascist by not talking about this stuff. And that is what I'm sick of hearing. And people like Johnny are out on the ground doing this work and exposing this. This is a first-hand account. This isn't a made-up video. This isn't any sort of this is like him going there and interviewing these candidates and getting this footage and all of this, and it should be looked at.
Orange man bad. Johnny, go ahead.
So then, so that interview I did with Angelica on the 8th was shortly after I had gotten kicked out of the Norwalk office for taking a picture of the 1% manual tally room. So here's my tweet where I said I just got kicked out of the LARCC building for taking a photo. And I was just trying to show what the 1% manual tally looks like. So this is what it looks like. So let's look at it, guys. I mean, this is the first room that started, and I said that this is not transparent if I can't take a picture. The public needs to know what's going on. So let me explain to you how it works. This person in the middle reads out the ballots. These two have the sheets there. There's these long sheets. It's like here, right? So it's this sheet. So it has let's say it's Proposition 15. It would say Proposition 15 here at the top, and then it would say yes, no, and then didn't answer. So then they would tally. That's how they do their manual count. And so this person's doing a manual count, this person's doing a manual count. They verify each other's numbers. She's calling out what was said from the ballot. And they're supposed to compare that to the machine-generated tally report, which is not available that day on record.
Can I ask you a question, Johnny? These are part-time employees. Who should be really doing this recount? Who should be doing the recount, guys? Right? Shouldn't the citizens? Shouldn't some of the people out there who represent maybe Tony Cardenas and Angelica Duenas, people who have a stake in the game, who are going to make sure that they can be very, thorough about this? Not just workers with no souls who are just passing through. This is where the people should be a part. The people of the community should be a part of the recount.
I don't know if I agree with that, because then there's going to be bias. I think there should be people that are follow elections that are non-biased, and it should be publicized on TV. Completely viewable to the public at every single turn. That's I think at the very least what we should demand.
Go ahead, Johnny.
So I wasn't allowed back for the rest of the day that day, but I was able to ask Gelman a pivotal question before my departure, and I said, do any vote-by-mail ballots come to this Norwalk office? To which she answered no. So that kind of And then I asked her if it's possible that only the only VBM ballots that come to Norwalk are for the 1% manual tally. To which she said yes. And so these answers solidifies my suspicions of the white van that we talked about previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they taking over there? It's not vote by mail ballots, supposedly, because Norwalk doesn't have any. I stuck around to see if any other white vans, like from the previous day, would show up, and lo and behold, we documented staff loading another white van in the back of the Norwalk office with white boxes that usually contain ballots. So I approached them, as seen below, and the worker would not respond to my questions. Am I doing something wrong? Wondering what type of ballots these are. How am I supposed to contact an official via email and ask them specifically about a van I saw being loaded up with ballots? If this is part of a process, why isn't this process in all processes outlined somewhere?
Exactly.
None of the processes are outlined anywhere.
Exactly.
So
what are they trying to hide?
Okay, so what we did instead was actually stake out the back of the LARRCC Norwalk office, and here you see this guy carting a cart of white boxes that look like that's the same boxes that the ballots have been in. So we decided to drive over to where he was going to, and we see a white van. It's an LARRCC van, and he's loading up the white boxes up into the back of the van. And then we decide to do a U-turn, and here we go, coming around.
Excuse me, quick question. Are there any ballots in there? Are there any ballots? Are those ballots? You don't want to answer?
Johnny, do you believe they were ballots?
What I think they were provisional ballots.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What does the chain of custody demand when it comes to transportation of ballots? How many people?
2 people. I tried looking for that. I tried looking for that in the California code. It might be in the Florida code, but I can't find it in the California code. Anything about transportation.
Well, I'll get some people to pull that stuff up because there's somebody I'm talking to about that talks about the chain of custody. I believe it's supposed to be 2 people at all times, and if those are ballots right there and it's one person,
yeah, no, that's a breach.
That's a big time breach.
Yep.
So
that's a big time breach, and some people should get on the horn and start calling because they should be outraged. What are they doing, moving shit around under the cover
and the secrecy too?
And the secrecy of what's going on with no eyes on them. And what are they doing? What are they doing?
Yeah, it's fair to ask these questions, right?
Absolutely.
It's public interest. That's what journalism is, asking questions in the public interest.
Yep. Johnny, anything else?
It's pretty sketchy, loading up ballots into the back of a van. I took a guess that they would go down to Downey, which is right down the road from Norwalk. And lo and behold, here they are. We see them, the white van there, and an empty parking lot in Downey, which is where they count the tally votes. So we decided to roll up. I'm rolling up. And there's another guy with the cart taking the ballots, taking the boxes, the white boxes. I don't know if there are ballots in there yet, but this is the tally facility where all the tallying happens. So I decide to go and approach. And here's what that is.
I thought you could see that there was one driver there. I think it's the next one. So, yeah, they went down to the Downey facility where they do the tabulation, where all those tabulation machines are. And so here's the second part of this video.
Got to bring in those extra votes.
So you can see the van had one person in there.
Yep.
We'll see the ballots being carted in. So they're right there. So yeah, the van was backing up, and then you can see here there is
one driver,
one person there.
That's not legal according to Florida. Now, Florida has better elections than California. That's not saying much considering Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Oh my God!
I tried to go in there to see the tally operation going on. He called somebody. This is a security guard. He called somebody and said that he got the response that there was nobody in the tally room, so I can't go in there.
This is a Sunday, right?
That was on a Sunday,
guys.
But why are ballots being picked up on a Sunday? That's what.
Yeah.
And if nobody's working, then who was that guy that just carted in the
exactly all the ballots? Dude, they're so scandalous. Go ahead,
who was the
Johnny.
worker carting up the white boxes?
That's it.
So then here's my little summary. You guys can look at that. And I just wanted to tell you from my experience over those 3 days, there have been a huge lack of transparency with few questions being answered. I documented my experience for all to see and have provided evidence for all of it. The LARCC needs to be more transparent, and people need to be aware of the person in charge who is the decision maker for how transparent the election systems in LA are is Dean Logan. And above Logan, Secretary of State Alex Padilla, who certifies election systems and results. And then I kind of go over Dean Logan's history there.
Oh, yeah.
And
hey, Johnny, I got some good news for you.
What's that?
That if Kamala Harris is the vice president, that I heard that Gavin Newsom's going to pick Alex Padilla to take Kamala Harris'
to take a Senate seat. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, there's a lot of horses in that race. Pasa, there's a lot of horses in that race. So.
Oh my God. Oh my land!
But yeah, that's basically the story. Go check it out on Medium. I'm gonna post this link in.
Put it in the chat here.
In the chat here and in the description.
We just had a nice shoot up of people watching as you were seeing the white boxes with no eyes on it, with no election integrity. With two people are supposed to be. I'm almost positive it's for California. We'll look it up. Chain of custody. We'll see. I want to be a Kiki. I want to be a Kiwi, not a Kiki. Thank you very much for the super chat contribution. Rokfin, no work with a question mark. It works. There's like 50 people over there hanging out right now. 44. Go join the fun over there. Get to watch live today as of now. No notifications, question mark. Well, that's the thing. You guys got to like and share because
make sure you click the bell because they're after us.
They're
100%.
after us. You're my COVID scare silver lining. Negative today. Power to the people with the fist. And to you, much love. Peace. We love you. All that good stuff. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. And then a nice super chat contribution right here. Because you are way better than status quo.
Damn.
Thank you, Kathy Lloyd.
Thank you, Kathy Lloyd.
I don't know. They're really good over there. You see the Emma Cedar PV video smearing Jimmy Dore. This is from our man Mocracy or Woman Mocracy. We love this name. No,
which one?
Yeah.
Because Jimmy Dore and and us and people who are actually telling the truth live rent free in these people's heads. I mean, constantly they just have to go and attack. Oh, the Jimmy Dore left. Oh, like why? Because he tells the truth. Because we tell the truth. Because we tell it like it is. I'm so sorry that we're not spewing the little narratives that you get paid to spew. By the way, Majority Report is affiliated still with TYT and MSNBC. Like they're like MSNBC light. So if you're still considering them independent media, they're not. I'm so sorry. The money ties are there.
You know what it is, fam? It's the bashing of Democrats.
Yeah.
That's what they're against.
Yeah.
And that's what they're against. It's just party loyal.
Well, no, not even just bashing against Democrats, about agreeing in some sentences with conservatives too. Republicans, that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
If you make Republicans, if you even for a second say
that's
that
why
they
hate
have
Tulsi so much.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's why they smear you.
Even though they're like getting Republicans on the Biden fucking.
Yeah, I mean they're so fucking exactly. Otis B, I made it here late. I'm a little behind. SO for Fiorella's tweet to Bernie. Shout out for Fiorella's tweet to Bernie. That was awesome. Trump's talk does not compare to the things actually done by others. Thank you, Otis B. We love you and we appreciate all that love and help. Thank you, Mocracy. Thank you for that
guys.
Generous super chat contribution from Kathy Lloyd. And thank you for the multiple people watching on all the networks across the board. Johnny, anything else? You put the link in there so they can see this?
Yeah, I put the link. I just want to say thanks to everybody who's giving me condolences here.
Well, there's a lot more to cover. So let's not stop here. We got a lot more stuff going on. Yeah.
Condolences. It should be, because condolences to our election system. Condolences to our democracy. Democracy is what we have. He was right all along. We don't have any democracy here. So please weep and cry for the death of democracy, the death of the progressive movement, the death of everything, because now we have to start back, because now we're going back to fighting the same system that brought us Donald Trump. Do you not think we're going to get a more competent Donald Trump, who is far worse than Donald Trump? Guys, come on, wake up.
Well, and at the end of the day, too, this is what we need to fix. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen out there, if we fix this issue and we had clean and transparent elections, we ain't got to worry. We'll get the representation we need. If they can select their goons and we can pick and we can elect our people, I mean, that's going to be huge. And if we can get this straight on the big level, on the local level, there's so much. It opens up a ray of sunshine on everything and on the dark cloud that is the American imperialists that keep it going. We have to fight it. This is the way we fight back. Yep. We start with our elections. We get it straight, and then we work from there. You can't put the cart before the horse.
Election integrity is the most important issue if you want anything else, to be honest.
Johnny?
Nope.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to the Patreons, the Rokfin watchers. We've got a lot of stuff coming out this week. I know we're going to talk about some of the foreign policy decisions about Esper getting fired and what Trump is trying to do as far as who he's getting in there. In the deep state, I think he said, you know what, screw this military-industrial complex. If they're going to cheat on me using these programs, then I'm just going to go crazy. We'll see what happens right there if he can make some moves.
We'll see what happens.
We'll pay attention to that. We'll also pay attention to the court cases coming. Fiorella has a lot of work on the transition team, and Johnny he's got the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this, because there's a lot more stuff going on as they got 17 days to continue to implement their bullshit. So for Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella, make sure to watch this next video coming up in a few minutes.
About less than 15 minutes, a video's dropping. It's a premiere. Johnny Sue on those ones and twos.
And on the streets.
Peace.
Convo out.
We love you all.